And we are live for another day of mock drafting, live on YouTube, live on TikTok, about to send the link to everyone in Discord to join. You're going to send in the YouTube chat momentarily as well. What's going on, everyone? I am back in draft mode. Excited for this one. We're doing another 14-team PPR mock draft here. I'm going to be drafting from the 5 spot yet again, preparing for one of my high stakes leagues where I will be drafting from the 5 spot. And I went ahead and I sent the link to the mock draft in the YouTube chat. We only got a few spots left here, 2 spots left. You can join by going to the YouTube live right in the TikTok bio. 1 spot left. Avery's in here, our Commanders creator. We got our Chiefs creator in here. There's only 1 spot remaining. Pick number 7 in this mock draft we're about to run. We'll see who fills it. Then we will start. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a good one. I think I got a better strategy going into today. All right, we're going to start this mock draft. It has filled. You're going to be able to follow along on TikTok and YouTube. Talk about what your team often looks like when you go Kelsey in the first round. Yeah, I'm going Kelsey in the first round pretty aggressively, pretty often. I would consider him here. I have the 5th overall pick here. I would definitely consider him there. I think this is a 14-team league that we're doing a mock draft with. So I think I'm probably going to lean running back because I feel like the running backs thin out just so fast in a 14-team league. But yeah, when I go Kelsey round 1, I'm almost always going to go a running back with one of my next 2 picks, usually with that 2nd round pick, depending on what's there. And Cooper Kupp goes, and yeah, I'll go with Austin Eckler here. This time, lock in the number 1 running back for fantasy football PPR leagues last year. Jack's got Avery Russo in the YouTube live. You can watch this mock draft right here on TikTok, but you can get a slightly better viewing experience actually on the YouTube live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio. Can you do another mock after for the boys? Yeah, we definitely will consider another mock after this. I did 2 back-to-back yesterday, probably going to go back-to-back again today. I probably will do, another mock draft after this. This one, they've been filling crazy fast. I mean, this just filled the first 10 seconds of this live. I got offered Wilson and Waddle for Jefferson and OBJ dynasty thoughts. Yeah, I want, is that Garrett Wilson? That's actually pretty fair. That's actually a pretty fair trade. If you're getting the Wilson Waddle thoughts, the Wilson Waddle side of that, but it depends what your starting lineup looks like. If you can start both those guys, it's probably worth it. Steph Diggs goes 9th overall. I really like the value you're getting for Steph Diggs this year. I kind of am starting to warm up, honestly, the back part of fantasy football drafts. This is a 14-team league here, and you're seeing guys like Nick Chubb, Saquon. They're lingering here in the late part of drafts. Guys, we're live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like and subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, appreciate you guys hitting that follow button. These drafts are really with people that know what they're doing. These mock drafts, you basically can't be part of these unless you know what you're doing and you're in the YouTube live or you're in our Discord, both of which are free to join. So this is going to give us a good sense of how your fantasy football drafts are going to go if they're coming up really soon. Obviously, there's a lot of information we're still out there waiting on for fantasy football drafts. What's going on with Jonathan Taylor? Supposedly he's sitting out now more for the ankle injury than for the dispute with his own team. I think that's even maybe more concerning than the dispute with his team. If he's the same ankle as last year that held him out last year for a bunch of games is still lingering, I'm a little bit concerned about that. Apparently he got surgery on that recently. Still some more information we need there. Josh Jacobs has yet to report to camp. Still some more information we need there as well. Both those guys, it would be 1st round draft picks at full health if they were at training camp. Right now, both guys starting to slide towards the back end of the 2nd round, beginning of the 3rd round. How can I hop in a mock draft? This mock draft's over on Sleeper, by far the best place to do mock drafts. You can hop in mock drafts really easily. You can also mock draft against bots there, but also just tune into these lives. You'll see really some good drafters mock drafting in these lives. Can you make a video showing what the draft tool does exactly? Yeah, Caden. I definitely am already working on that video. I think that's going to be more of a YouTube video, but we're going to try to get that video actually in the app as well. And I'm going to make a TikTok about it too. I actually did make a TikTok about the draft tool recently, but not sort of the specifics that go into it. All right, we're back on the clock here. And I'm going Breece Hall. I honestly could see myself starting my real draft like this if Breece is going to keep sliding in these drafts. I'm really not as worried about as other people are about Breece. I think Breece is going to be a league winner in fantasy football this year. I also care much more about the back end of the stretch of the fantasy season than I do at the beginning. I would rather the Jets move Brees along slowly and have him absolutely smash in the back half of the fantasy football season. I don't think Brees Hall is the type of player that's going to need 25 touches a game to be a running back one in fantasy football. I think he can be like an Austin Eckler. I think he's Saquon Barkley 2.0. He is already running at full speed. He's been expected to be back for week one for quite some time now. And the Dalvin Cook stuff, the Jets out there for running back, really, it doesn't scare me that much. So I'm okay taking Brees in the second. We'll see if the receiver I want slides to the third, and he did not. That was going to be Calvin Ridley. I thought about Calvin Ridley here with this pick, but I don't feel great about taking Ridley over Devontae Smith or Chris Olave. Definitely is going to be a tough decision point for me in drafts. Jahmyr Gibbs goes. He's been harder and harder and harder to get in these drafts. I think Gibbs is going late second, early third in almost all drafts. This is a 14-team league, though. I'll keep that in mind. JT is still kicking around. I don't think I'm going to make that same mistake I made in a draft yesterday here with this next pick, depending on who goes with this pick ahead of me. We will see. But there's a receiver that I'm definitely eyeing to take with this third round pick. Hi, Sam. I have the fifth pick in a 10-man PPR league this year. I'm leaning taking Kelsey, but who would you take? Yeah, if it's a PPR league, I think Kelsey's fine. But I would look towards one of the five that went in the first 5 picks of this draft, to be honest with you. And yeah, I'm going to go Debo here. Yesterday, I went DK Metcalf over Debo Samuel, and I regretted it almost immediately. This is why mock drafting is a useful thing to do before your real drafts. I want Debo more than I want DK Metcalf. I just think Debo's ceiling and floor is just a little bit higher with DK Metcalf competing with Lockett and JSN now. I think Debo can return to his 2021 form this year too. So I'm in on Debo Samuel for the most part this year. Najee Harris goes 1 pick later. I feel like I feel like the dead zone of running backs has moved up a little bit this year compared to previous years. We got Najee Harris going in the 3rd round. He was I think consensus early 2nd round pick last year. Travis Etienne, I'm pretty out on as well. I think Tank Bigsby is going to eat into his workload more than people expect. I'm out a little bit on Najee Harris too at this price. I think the offensive line is improved. There's no explosive plays from Najee Harris. I don't like having guys like that on my fantasy team. He's going to be touchdown and volume dependent. I think the volume probably will be there for Najee, but like he's a guy, unlike Brees Hall, Najee Harris needs over 20 touches every week to return value at his current cost. And look at this. We got a huge run on running backs here in the 3rd round. I think this is going to be something you see a decent amount of in fantasy this year, where the first 2 rounds are pretty dominated by wide receivers. Round 3 is where the running backs start to come in. When is the draft? So the 32 Creator League draft, that is going to be on August 28th at 7 p.m. Going to post a YouTube event probably some point today, actually, for that, to make sure you guys can get notified when that happens. But yeah, it's going to be August 28th. This is a 32 Creator League draft. We're doing a 14-team PPR draft right now. This is a mock draft with members of this live stream in the YouTube live, in the TikTok live. We're actually live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Can you do a 12-team next? Yeah, we can do a 12-team half PPR mock draft after this. I know there's been some requests for half PPR mocks. And anyone can join that. The link will be posted right in the YouTube live. By the way, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Shout out to everybody in this live stream right now. The viewing experience, it is a little bit better, just straight up a little bit better on the YouTube live. You can see the entire draft board. The comment section is just a little less spammy, easier to get your comment seen on the YouTube live. Link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio. Do recommend you guys checking that out if you are on TikTok. Should I pick Kupp or Hill at the 4th pick, 10-man PPR? Yes, I lean Cooper Kupp over Tyreek Hill. I got a lot of backlash for where I had Tyreek Hill in the 1st round in that video I posted on TikTok about how I think the 1st round should go. In retrospect, I think Tyreek Hill probably should go before Steph Diggs. The reason I had Steph Diggs before Tyreek Hill in there, though, is I just feel a little bit better about the overall situation for Steph Diggs with Josh Allen's clear top receiver than I do with the Dolphins and Tua's injury risk. That being said, I would go Cooper Kupp over Tyreek Hill almost every single time. I'm not that worried about the Cooper Kupp injury, and Cooper Kupp has a better chance than Tyreek Hill to be the number 1 overall wide receiver in fantasy football. Why PPR if receiver gets negative yards doesn't help the team. Yeah, I think PPR is just it's the format that I'm used to. That's why I like it the most. I like that you get the most points in this format, and this is just how my brain operates now because this is the type of league I've been playing in my whole life. All right, we're back on the clock here, looking at some of these wide receivers. Judy flies off the board. I really don't love this spot for DJ Moore. I do think there's a little bit. I'm actually, God, I don't want to go Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to go DJ. I'm going to think about this one afterwards too. Let's pull up. I want to see in our draft tool. This is the WalterPicks app here. You're seeing this is totally free to download. The best app on the App Store to prepare for your drafts. I want to go scroll down here to DJ Moore, and I want to compare him. Yeah, that was definitely a reach for DJ Moore. We got Godwin ahead of him here in the draft tool. The thing about DJ Moore is just, can the passing volume really get there? Can it get there for the Bears? They were one of the least pass heavy teams in the league last year, and yeah, I'm regretting this pick a little bit now. Better floor and ceiling for Chris Godwin, according to Walter. You can see some of the numbers from last year. Obviously, Godwin, huge downgrade in quarterback. He's going from Tom Brady to either Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. But Godwin still should lead the Bucs in targets. He was averaging almost 7 catches a game. Pretty great for PPR formats. I'm nervous about this DJ Moore pick, where I got him. In retrospect, I kind of wish I went Trevor Lawrence. I do think there's a drop-off in the QB tiers right now. Like right after this Trevor Lawrence, I think there is a drop-off. I'll probably be going tight end here with my next pick, most likely. I think there's a pretty clear tier drop-off as well at the tight end position after these 4 guys. Kittle, Pitts, you can't really see it if you got the comments on the TikTok live, but Goddard and Waller, I think there's a pretty massive drop-off after those guys. In terms of tight end tiers, let's look at the running backs here. While Madison's going to be sitting there in round 5, that's a little surprising to me as well. I might consider him with this next pick. Also, Godwin's still there. Definitely will think about him. We'll see who ends up getting snagged. Dameon Pierce goes. I'm pretty out, I think, on Dameon Pierce in PPR leagues if he's going to go before Alexander Madison. How do you feel about DeAndre Swift this year? Yeah, so I talked about Swift a decent amount on the live yesterday. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, by the way. YouTube Live, you can see the whole draft board. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio, but you'll be able to see the draft board fill out on each of these. I talked about Swift a little bit about him yesterday. I like him in general. I think he's an extremely talented receiving back in the NFL, and I think he is an efficient running back as well. I'm going to be out on him, I think, in season-long fantasy formats, though, especially here, again, if he's going before James Conner, before Alexander Madison, guys that have more established 3-down roles, I'm not going to be drafting much DeAndre Swift in season-long because I think it's going to be really hard to predict the week-to-week roles in this offense this season. I almost want to go receiver here, but I already have Debo, so I can't go. I don't want either of these guys. I'm feeling like I'm in a pickle here. I'm going to go with Cam Akers and just lock in a third running back. I have a feeling he's not going to actually be there at this pick in my actual draft, because I know my actual league, high stakes leagues that I'm practicing for here, was a 14-team PPR league, and I have the 5th pick, just like this mock draft. The running backs just go so early in that draft, historically speaking. But I probably would have gone Kittle if I hadn't taken Debo with that pick, just because of how far Kittle slid. I think you go Kittle. Yeah, I probably would have gone Kittle. Yeah, anyways, about DeAndre Swift, I think he's going to have some absolutely massive weeks, like huge spike weeks, weeks where he could legitimately be the number 1 overall running back. I think he has that upside each week, depending on how much he's used as a receiver. It sounds like Swift's going to be used a lot as a receiver. But I think all 3 and maybe even 4 of the Eagles running backs will mix in. I think Rashad Penny is the best bet to lead the team in carries, DeAndre Swift, of course, and I think Kenneth Gainwell is going to be playing a lot of those third downs, a lot of those 2-minute drills as well. And then Boston Scott, whoever the 4th running back, Trey Sermon's been getting some hype in camp too. I think that 4th running back could mix in too, especially when they play the Giants and they just give Boston Scott the goal line carries. I think it's going to be tough to predict on a week-to-week basis which of these guys is going to pop off. That's why I like Swift a little bit more in best ball, because I do think he has that ceiling. So I've been taking him a decent amount in best ball, where I exclusively draft running backs that catch passes. Swift checks that box. Season long, I'm a little bit more lenient, but generally I also, especially in these PPR leagues, I want guys to catch passes. Swift does check that box, but he's going, he went in the 4th round here, again, before guys that are going to get big workloads. Like I took Cam Akers here, a few running backs after him. I like Akers more than Swift for sure from a season long perspective. I like Madison more. I even think there's a good case for James Conner and Dameon Pierce. In terms of their weekly consistent workhorse roles, I think there's better cases for them than there is DeAndre Swift. And here we go. The tight end tier is absolutely obliterated now. All these tight ends are off the board. And I find myself in a tough spot. I'll probably wait and probably get Dolch again late in this mock draft, like I did in both the mock drafts yesterday. Pitch me why Jamar Chase is worth a top 3 pick. Yeah, I can pitch you on that pretty easily. Not too hard to do. Let me pull up here the WalterPicks draft tool, and I think this will pitch you on it pretty quickly. So first of all, the consensus number 1 overall pick this year is Justin Jefferson. This is the WalterPicks app, by the way. It's free to install. You can find it in the TikTok bio and the YouTube description. Let's just compare these two guys. So J-Jet he's projected ahead of him, but both guys have a ceiling of wide receiver 1. Floor is just a little bit lower for Chase. Look at some of the numbers, though, from last year. Really not that far off. Chase averaged more touchdowns per game than Justin Jefferson. He played more snaps per game than Justin Jefferson. He missed 5 games with an injury. And then, he's running more routes. He's getting more targets. The target share exactly the same between these two guys. But then just pull up the game log for Jamar Chase. And this is the thing. If you look at season total numbers, Chase is going to be lower than he should be. But if you look at the game logs here, he didn't really have a bad week after week 5. He finished number 1 wide receiver back-to-back weeks here. And then his worst finish was wide receiver 27. He didn't really have a game. He didn't have a single game under 10 points last year. So he's got that high floor, extremely high ceiling. Every week he can finish as the wide receiver 1. And he has a better quarterback than Justin Jefferson has. So yeah, I think he's a pretty good bet for the number 2 overall pick. I think you can also talk yourself into Christian McCaffrey over him. And I think there's a case for Cooper Kupp over him as well. But with the injury to Cooper Kupp right now, I don't think it's that crazy to be taking to be taking Chase over Cooper Kupp. Okay, we're about to be back on the clock here in this mock draft. Again, if you come to the YouTube live, you can see the entire draft board. A little tough to see every pick on the TikTok live. Whoever gets T-Lon Pittman wins easy, says Brett in the YouTube live. I'm pretty in on Trevor Lawrence. I'm a little bit out, though, on Michael Pittman. All right, I'm back on the clock here. We're going to try not to auto pick. And, man, the wide receivers, they drop off pretty fast. Wow, I really would be shocked if he's still here at this point in the draft. I just took my 4th running back. Not my plan going in. Again, I don't think this is how my real draft will go, where I know the running backs are going to be really aggressively targeted. And this is a 14-team league, guys. So like in the 14-team leagues, you think about it, there's 1 starting running back on each NFL team. That's like, if everyone takes 2 running backs, that's almost every starting running back in the NFL off the board right there. I think David Montgomery is going to get the goal line work for the Lions this year. That was the role that led to Jamal Williams scoring 1 million touchdowns last year. And I think David Montgomery's better than Jamal Williams. I'm pretty excited for David Montgomery, especially when you compare his cost to Jahmyr Gibbs' cost. Look where Gibbs went. Gibbs went in the 3rd round, and I'm in on Gibbs. I'm excited about Gibbs. I'm fearful I won't get him in any drafts because I'm not taking him in the 2nd round. If he falls to the mid-3rd, late 3rd, that's where I'll start considering Gibbs. I feel much better about him in the 4th. But when you compare where he's going to where David Montgomery's going, I want David Montgomery basically every single time. I think Montgomery has the goal line role. Montgomery will also catch passes. He's playing behind the same offensive line and the same offense, and I think he projects for around as many touches. I don't think he's going to get as many catches, as many receiving yards. That's why I really like Gibbs, his upside. But I think the comparison of where they're going, I like Montgomery at cost just a little bit more. Can you show the rest of the board real quick? Yeah, and also if you come to the YouTube live, link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio. You can see the entire draft board on the screen, whereas on TikTok, I got to rotate you guys a little bit as the draft is going. And we see Antonio Gibson go in the 7th round. And yeah, now if we look at the running backs here now on the board, there's really nothing. So I feel pretty good about where I got David Montgomery. These are all backup running backs essentially on the board at this point. And now I can focus back on tight ends, quarterbacks, wide receivers. I still haven't taken a quarterback or a tight end yet. I will consider a QB here with my next pick, depending on this person's not Daniel Vardy's not. He's not going to go QB. He already has Lamar. He's not going to go tight end either. But also almost every team already has a tight end. I'm not going to reach for a tight end. I kind of want to go with Tua or Deshaun over Dak with this pick. Let me peek at the receivers though. Dang, Michael Thomas went. I actually kind of want to go Gabe Davis here. I'm going to go Gabe Davis before I take a QB. I think Gabe Davis in the 7th round is a pretty smash pick, in my opinion, this year. Gabe Davis suffered an ankle injury early in the season last year. He still was by far number 2 in routes run for the Bills. I mean, let's just pull up the game logs here quick for Gabe Davis. And he should be pretty easily the wide receiver 2 again for the Buffalo Bills, for Josh Allen. And just look at the routes. I mean, he's running just so many routes every week. He's seeing pretty solid target numbers. Again, I think the ankle injury you can chalk up to some efficiency issues, but his target share was above 15% every single week, basically here. That's pretty strong to me at 9% target share a week in week 4 against the Ravens. That actually might have been a game that he got injured as well. Actually, it probably wasn't. He played 97% of the snaps in that game. He only missed week 2 last year, and he came back from that ankle injury. Not a lot of consistency here from Gabe, a bunch of weeks under 10 points. I think he can turn that around though this season. And we know the ceiling is going to be there. He had a number 1 overall wide receiver finish against the Steelers last year. 2 touchdowns in that game, 171 yards. I think that was the game maybe he had that 99-yard touchdown. I think it was. But yeah, I don't hate Gabe at all late in drafts. Around 7 feels like a pretty reasonable price tag. I like him more than Jahan Dotson. I like him more than all these receivers that went after him. I'm a little bit out on Dotson. I know a lot of people like Dotson. He does check some boxes in the sense that he's a year 2 wide receiver. I like targeting year 2 wide receivers, but I don't feel great about the offensive situation overall for Jahan Dotson. When's the next draft? We're going to be doing another mock draft right after this. It's going to be a 12-team half PPR mock draft, so stick around for that. We're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube, guys. We're doing daily live streams at this point. I'm posting daily content on TikTok. We got daily content being posted on the YouTube channel as well. Make sure you don't miss that. If you are watching live on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss the daily content that we're posting on YouTube as well. We're going to be going live on both YouTube and TikTok every single day. And as well, every single Sunday morning, I'll be live on TikTok and YouTube again this season. I'm already starting to train my body Sunday mornings to wake up as early as possible, to start those Sunday morning lives as early as possible. Khalil Herbert goes here in the 8th round. Jamal Williams went in the 7th. I feel good about how I approach the running back position here from the 5 spot. I already have 4. I'm not going to take another running back now the rest of the draft. Meanwhile, the people I'm going against, they're drafting just guys that are going to be impossible to trust in your starting lineup. Jamal Williams is going to be very hard to trust in your starting lineup, even with Alvin Kamara out. They just signed Kareem Hunt. I think Keandre Miller likely will mix in too. If Jamal Williams doesn't score a touchdown, he's not going to be a guy you wanted to start in fantasy. I think similar with Rashad Penny, similar how I feel about DeAndre Swift. Good luck trusting him on a week-to-week basis. He's going to have huge weeks, absolutely. Samaje Perine, AJ Dillon, these are backup running backs that are not going to get to 20 touches in a week without injuries ahead of them. Khalil Herbert is the starting running back, but there's 2 guys that maybe are just as good right behind him. So yeah, I'm feeling good about like getting the end of this running back tier here and how I approach the running backs. I still need a quarterback, tight end, but I'm going to be able to piece that together pretty confidently. I almost went Tua with my last pick, and it looks like he might slide to me here with my next pick. So I'm feeling good about that as well. And we all know, I think, who I'm going to get at tight end if you watch either of the live streams yesterday. What do you think about Quentin Johnston? Yeah, I like Quentin Johnston. Where he's going in drafts, I think is reasonable. I don't think he's actually been picked. Oh, he actually went earlier than usual, I think, in this draft. He went in the 7th round to our Chiefs creator here. I don't know about him in the 7th. I think I like Michael Thomas and Gabe Davis more than Quentin Johnston, but I think down the stretch, I can definitely see Quentin having league-winning upside. And yeah, I'm going to go Tua here as my QB. If I don't get that elite tier of quarterback, so if I miss out on the top tier, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and then that second top tier of Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence, if I missed out on that tier, I'm going to wait. It seems like pretty long, and I'm going to get Tua or I'm going to get Anthony Richardson. I'm also interested in Geno super late in drafts too with the receivers that he has. I'm not going to pay up for QB in reach if I miss out on that top tier guys. Bijan or Diggs, half PPR. Yeah, I think that I would lean Diggs. They went back-to-back here in this PPR draft. I think half PPR, honestly, probably gives a slight edge to Bijan, but I feel safest with Diggs. I think Diggs is a safer bet in fantasy football than Bijan Robinson is. Diggs is the clear top option for one of the premier quarterbacks in the NFL and one of the teams that's going to throw at one of the highest rates in the NFL. Diggs is just so steady. I feel really safe about Diggs in the first round. I think he's one of the safest first-round picks this year. While Rodgers goes here in the 9th ahead of actually Dak got picked 1 pick before him. I'm about to be back on the clock, and I'm going to go, as long as he doesn't get sniped here, 1 pick before me, which I don't think he's going to. I'm going to grab Dolch here, and this is clearly going to become a thing for me. If Greg Dolch is going to continue to go after guys like Dalton Schultz, Dalton Kincaid, I'm going to continue taking him, and he's just really low on the sleeper ADP, which I don't fully understand. I think I have him as tight end 11, maybe tight end 10 in my rankings and in the rankings in the WalterPicks app. So I feel pretty good about getting Dolch in the 9th round. Didn't need to spend a premier pick at tight end, and all the tight ends, basically all the tight ends after the the Kyle Pitts pick, all the tight ends after that are probably going to be dust most weeks. And I think Dolch has at least a good chance to beat all the guys taken after Kyle Pitts. Evan Ingram and Muth and Njoku, I do have ranked ahead of Dolch, but I just don't feel better about those guys at the price that you have to pay for them. I'd much rather be getting, this running back here who has elite weekly upside, really, really high touchdown upside and catches passes. I'd rather get the number 2 wide receiver for Josh Allen than pay up for a mid-tier tight end. So I think I'm going to be going the late round tight end strategy if I miss out on that top tier. Keenan Allen or Ridley, it's got to be Ridley easy, I think. What's your favorite draft spot in a 12-man league? Yeah, I'm still feeling it out. I was originally really, really liking the top 5 picks, and I still do like the top 5. Especially, I've been liking the teams a lot where I come away with McCaffrey or Cooper Kupp outside of the top 2 picks. I feel really, really good about that. But I feel like the back end of the first round is also really, really strong. You're getting guys that are going to be there like Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams. I feel like there's a really big drop-off in the receivers you're able to get after the mid of the second round. So I don't hate the back end of the draft either. So I'd say I want either a top 5 pick or I want a back 3 pick. I think that's kind of where I'm trending right now. And I actually have a top 5 pick, I think, in the 3 high-stakes leagues I'm in that have already given the draft order. I pick 1, 3, and 5. So feeling okay about that, but I do kind of hope I get at least a couple back end of the draft picks as well in my other high stakes leagues. Start sit already, Hudson. We're not in start sit mode already. That's going to be the first Sunday morning live though. But it's pretty simple from a start sit perspective. In fantasy football, it's relatively simple in the sense that like start the guys you drafted earliest, almost always. There's going to be some nuance there depending on how deep your leagues are and who you drafted. But for the most part, like, why did you draft that guy before the other guy if you were not going to start him in week 1? Again, there's some different cases depending on the matchup, depending on if they're suspended or injured or whatever. But for the most part, week 1 start sits are the most straightforward start sits of the entire season. And then it gets pretty chaotic. From there is Bijan, Amon-Ra, Olave, really good start for first 4 rounds. Yeah, that's absolutely money. That's a great start, I would say. If you're getting Ridley round 4, and I just did an ESPN mock draft earlier this morning, testing out our League Sync in the WalterPicks app. That app is free to download, by the way. It's the best app you can use to help you all fantasy season, in draft season especially, but all fantasy season. That app is going to help you absolutely dominate and make the best decisions possible in fantasy. I helped build this app over the last 3 years. A link to that is in the TikTok bio and in the YouTube description. But I was doing an ESPN mock with League Sync this morning, and Ridley's going in round 5, round 6 in these ESPN drafts. I mean, that is just egregious. If that's going to stick, you're going to win all your ESPN leagues if you can get Ridley in round 5, round 6. So feeling pretty good about where he's going there. Man, this really thins out pretty quick. I'm going to go with Romeo Doubs, I think. I still needed a receiver. And yeah, that's my 4th receiver. I got 4 running backs, 4 receivers now. I'll probably go with a second QB in leagues. If I wait this late on QB, I might get a guy like Jared Goff, maybe even a guy like Russ. I do really like Purdy too, where Purdy's going. Feels like a little bit of a miscalculation just across the board. It feels like Purdy's going. His ADP feels like it hasn't been moved enough based on the fact that we know Purdy's starting week 1 for the 49ers. We know Brock Purdy has one of the best, if not the best, supporting casts in all of football, one of the best situations. Guys, Brock Purdy, he has Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk the Bazooka, George Kittle, and the best receiving back, maybe the best receiving back in NFL history, Christian McCaffrey. And then he also has just a really good offensive scheme and situation, and he's free. He's absolutely free at the end of drafts. I do like him too late if you're going to wait on QB as well. Where did Alvin Kamara go? Yeah, let's see where Alvin Kamara went in this draft. I've been keeping an eye on that too. And he's going earlier and earlier and earlier in all these drafts since the suspension news. He went in the 3rd round here. I was getting a lot of heat just a month ago for taking him in the 6th or 7th round. In the first draft I did, that was like way too early. I've been hammering him in the 7th round of basketball drafts this whole offseason. And yeah, he went in round 3 in this draft. I've seen him go round 4, round 5 recently. Seems like he's going to go around the round 4, round 5 area. Again, this is a 14-team league, so round 3 in a 14-team league is really like round 4 in a 12-team league. We're going to do a 12-team half PPR mock draft right after this. Sam, with the 13th pick in your mock here that 13th pick in your mock here looks pretty good. Yeah, I'll take a look at each team here individually in just a second. Let me actually adjust this so you can see on the YouTube live all the picks. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. On the YouTube live, a little bit better of a viewing experience. You can see every single pick as it happens. And I'm going to go Brock here as my second QB. And I mean, Brock and Tua, not that different of a story to tell yourself about why these are good late round quarterbacks. Just look at their supporting cast. We're drafting Tyreek Hill in the first round. We're drafting Jalen Waddle in the second round. We're drafting Debo and Ayuk in the third and fourth round, and Kittle in the fifth round. We're drafting McCaffrey in the first round. I mean, what do you expect these quarterbacks to do if you expect all of their talent to have dominant fantasy seasons? There's probably a pretty good chance Tua and Purdy have a dominant season as well if all these guys hit. And they don't even need all the guys to hit to have a great season. They just need one or two of them to hit, and they have the talent to hit. So yeah, I'd like the Tua and Purdy late round QB strat. The more and more I think about it, if I don't hit on one of those top tier quarterbacks, which I do think there's a pretty clear tier drop after the Trevor Lawrence pick, maybe Deshaun ends up being in that tier, and Deshaun went pretty late in this draft. I don't hate where he went here either. Like, he could easily jump into the top 5 conversation pretty quickly. It wasn't that long ago, guys. Deshaun was pretty clearly one of the top 5 young QBs in the NFL. Obviously last year, an abysmal season for him after everything that happened, but show the whole board. Yes, if you come to the YouTube live, you can see the whole board. But on TikTok, I with my phone, I just can't show the whole board. So the link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok live if you want to see the whole board. I'll do my best on the TikTok live, though, to keep adjusting it. But yeah, the YouTube live experience is just a little bit better than the TikTok live experience. What's the app? So this app that I'm drafting on right now, or this website I'm drafting on, this is Sleeper. This is the best place to host your fantasy leagues, the best place for mock drafts in general. But the app that I use for all my fantasy football research, that is the WalterPicks app, which you're seeing here, a screenshot of, or not a screenshot, you're seeing the app on my computer of the draft tool. You can see here our top 10 rankings in the WalterPicks app. We got Cooper Kupp just one spot ahead of McCaffrey in PPR, but in half PPR. And part of the reason the WalterPicks app is really unmatched is it's custom to your league settings. You can sync your league, and it's going to be custom to all your league settings. Unlike almost all the rankings you see out there, half PPR, we still have this the same here for the half PPR rankings, but it's definitely a little bit closer. Bijan, I think, got bumped up a little bit. Maybe Bijan is a guy that you take over Diggs in half PPR. I know someone asked about that earlier. What's your draft strategy? Typically, what's the earliest you take Calvin Ridley? I want Calvin Ridley at the beginning of the third round every single time. I think you can really realistically, I might be considering him at the very back end of the second, but definitely not earlier than that. I don't really feel great about taking him over Devontae Smith or Chris Olave, but I feel okay taking him ahead of T. Higgins and basically all the receivers after that. My general draft strategy, I'm pretty flexible. I can win with any draft strategy. I want to go in not just with one set strategy, but when I am drafting, I generally am going to take a running back with one of my first 3 picks, and I want running backs that catch passes. I want quarterbacks that run. And if I don't get one of the elite quarterbacks, one of the elite tight ends, I'm going to wait. And I'm going to be one of the last people, if not the last person in my league, to draft a quarterback and a tight end, because I think there's a clear teardrop at both of those positions. I'm not going to pay up for these mid tight ends. I'm not going to pay up for Dalton Schultz. I'm not going to pay up for Evan Ingram, Pat Freiermuth, David Njoku, all these guys that are going to have donuts throughout the season. I'm not paying up for the mid tight ends. I'm going to pay down, and I'm just going to grab Dolch late, who I think is pretty much on the same tier as all those guys. And if he misses and if he's bad, it's not a huge deal because I didn't spend a lot for him. And I feel similarly at the quarterback position if I don't get one of those top guys. I'm looking for Tank Bigsby here. He must have gone a little while ago, though. I don't hate Tyjae Spears late in drafts, too, as a running back handcuff. Hunter Henry's completely free in drafts, too. He'll be on the waiver wire in most leagues. I'll go Tyjae Spears here with my last pick. I think in my real draft, I'll probably have kickers and defenses I'll need to take. Sam, we doing another mock? Yeah, we're going to do another mock. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Smash the like button if you're watching live on YouTube, and the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the like button and the follow button. I do really appreciate that. We are about to start a new mock draft. First of all, let's just analyze this mock draft, though, really quickly before we just hop into another one. I just want to look through these teams here. First overall pick went with Justin Jefferson. I took Mondre with their RB2 spot. And then Ridley, I liked the Ridley pick. James Conner, they got relatively late. And then they went with Muth, who's their quarterback, Rodgers and Goff. They're going to piece it together with the late QB strategy. Decent team here from the 1 spot. Let's look at the 2 spot here now. Our Chiefs creator went Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, Jahmyr Gibbs, Trevor Lawrence, Dameon Pierce. He stacked Lawrence with Ingram. It makes me feel a little bit better about Ingram. I think there's a little bit of a reach on Jerick McKinnon. I can't picture myself taking him in the 8th round. He is our Chiefs grader, though, so I guess we can chalk it up to that. He needed someone on the Chiefs on his team. I'm pretty out on Treylon Burks. I'm in on the talent of Treylon Burks. I'm in on the talent for Treylon Burks. I'm out on the opportunity, though, for Treylon Burks with DeAndre Hopkins in town and Derrick Henry still there. Another guy I just can't picture relying on week to week for fantasy. I think the talent's there. I just don't think the volume's going to be there. And then the 4th spot, McCaffrey, Devontae Smith, T. Higgins. Really like that start. And T. Higgins and Devontae Smith, I feel like, are getting pushed further and further down as people reach for Ridley. I like Ridley more than Higgins, but not as much as Devontae Smith. DeAndre Swift, I would not take in the 4th round, but I like the 5th round pick by Madison. I like Madison more than Swift. For a season-long perspective, I just think that the role is going to be more consistent than Swift's, even though Swift probably will catch a lot of really high-value passes in that Eagles offense. I think Rashad Penny, Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Hurts are going to steal a lot of those goal line carries away from Swift. I don't hate Addison. I think the ceiling's there at least. I don't know about the floor, though, for Addison. Feels pretty low. KJ Osborne is ahead of him in that first depth chart, but that doesn't concern me that much. And Njoku, I don't hate where you got him. I like where I got Dolch more, though. Dak Prescott, you went late QB strat. I like getting Kyler in the last round if you're going to go late QB strat. I think Kyler's probably going to be back before people expect. And then here at the 4th spot, we got Cooper Kupp, Andrews, Lamar. We got the Andrews, Lamar stack. And piece it together, honestly, with Sanders and James Cook. If at least one of those running backs hits, this team honestly might be the best team here in this draft. I probably would have thought about taking a running back earlier than you did your 3rd running back here. I think Damien Harris is going to be complete trash from a fantasy perspective, and Jaylen Warren probably needs an injury to be fantasy relevant, but at least he'll catch passes. Here's my team. I went Austin Eckler, Breece Hall to start the draft, and then went Debo and DJ Moore. I felt immediately bad about the DJ Moore pick. I kind of wished I went Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin almost slid back to my next pick, and I just feel like honestly the wide receiver drop off like right after Judy, I just feel a little bit uncertain about. I kind of wish I went Godwin though over DJ Moore. We'll see how that one pans out. The reason I'm a little bit out on DJ Moore is just I don't know if the passing volume from the whole offense is going to be there. The Bears were one of the most run heavy teams in the league last year. We know Fields is going to run a lot still. Can DJ Moore have enough weeks? With 8+ targets, 9+ targets, I'm just not sure if that's going to be the case. Given his role, I think the talent's there for DJ Moore. I'm just not super convinced that the volume will be there for him. But I feel really good about these next 2 running backs I got. You can only start 3 running backs in this league with 2 running backs and a flex. But I mean, where David Montgomery's going in the 6th round, that's just insane to me. Honestly, more reason I think to wait on running backs if you're going to get Monty in the 6th. Again, just comparing where Jahmyr Gibbs went to where David Montgomery went. And this whole offseason, they've been talking about Gibbs and Monty being the 2-headed dragon for this offense. I think Monty's going to get more of the goal line work than Gibbs. I think Gibbs leads the backfield in receiving, but at cost, I like Monty more than Gibbs. I want both of them, honestly, but I like where I got him in this draft. I went Gabe Davis in the 7th round, Tua and Purdy. The weapons around them, I think they are going really, really late in drafts. I like Dolch as my late round tight end. And then I went Romeo Doubs, Tyjae Spears. There'll probably be nothing, but at least I think some path upside there for them. We got Tyreek, Josh Allen here from the 6th spot. Man, I do not like the running back situation for this team at all. I don't feel great about Najee. Najee is a volume-based, touchdown-dependent fantasy football running back that it just doesn't have explosive plays. There was no explosive plays from Najee last year. I just don't like running backs on my fantasy team that can't have an explosive play. He can catch passes. That's good. The volume has been there. Historically, the offensive line is better. The offense should be better this year with Kenny Pickett in year 2 and an improved offensive line. I just can't tell myself a story of getting excited about Najee on my team. So I don't love the running back situation here. We'll see if Pacheco's back for week 1, but I think the Chiefs are going to mix and match the running back room. So I don't feel great about that Pacheco pick either. All right, here at the 7th spot, they started with Kelsey, followed that up with Josh Jacobs, who is going to be a smash pick if he actually comes back for week 1 and maybe joins training camp a little bit before the season starts. But right now he's on my do not draft list because he's not even practicing and clearly at odds with the team. Travis Etienne, I'm pretty nervous about in the 3rd round. I don't like that pick a ton. I think the talent there is there for Etienne. I'm worried that Tank Bigsby is going to take a lot of the receiving work and a lot of the goal line work away from Etienne, though. As good as I think the Jaguars offense will be, I don't feel great about him in the 3rd round. I feel pretty good about the 4 receivers you got. I'm a little bit out on Dotson compared to most people, but I don't hate that pick. I like the other 3 receivers here, though. But yeah, generally, I don't love the running back situation for this team. Bijan Robinson, Jalen Hurts, Aaron Jones, Hopkins, Pittman, Kirk, Tony. I don't love I mean, the tight end situation here is not that much different than mine. You paid a little bit more for Schultz than Dulcich. I mean, Schultz, like realistically, he might be the most talented receiver that the Texans have. Behind Nico Collins and John Mechie, Tank Dell. There's really just not Robert Woods. There's not much there from the receiver perspective. I think the Texans, though, are going to be extremely run heavy. I don't hate Schultz, though, by any means. I do like the running back situation you have here with Aaron Jones in a PPR league. Don't like Pittman, though. I like Kirk more than Pittman, I think, this year from a fantasy perspective. I'm nervous about Anthony Richardson's impact on Michael Pittman. How run first I think the Colts might be. It's really, really rare for a rookie quarterback to sustain an elite wide receiver in fantasy football. I'm a little bit out on Hopkins too, but at this price, I think it's not terrible. I like London. I like Judy more than Hopkins, though, this year. Again, I'm kind of nervous just about the offensive situation for Hopkins, but he should lead that team in targets. All right, let's look at the back half here now. I like Avery's team. He started Diggs and Waddle. I mean, if JT ends up playing, JT in the third round is going to be a cheat code in fantasy football, but he's on my do not draft list right now too. I don't love. There's been so much steam. This one I could really come back to bite me this season, but there's been so much steam on Javonte Williams being at full health, and I'm just not fully bought into how gruesome of an injury he had. He tore basically everything in his knee, that he's going to be at 100% a normal Javonte Williams and that he's going to be able to sustain that for a whole season. I'm just a little bit concerned about that for Javonte. I'm pretty out on Dalvin Cook too. I know we had some chatter in the Slack this morning about Dalvin Cook, but what team can he land on that he can get 15 touches a week in fantasy football? It's not the Jets. I think like there's maybe a story. I think the Buccaneers and the Bengals are like kind of dark horse teams that could make sense to sign running backs, but they've not been in the market for one yet. I'm a little bit out on Dalvin. Obviously, we'll see where he signs. I like the Zay Flowers pick. Not a huge fan of the Adam Thielen pick. I do like the late round Geno Russ, the former Seahawk and the current Seahawk stack there. I like the late round QB strat. Pretty solid team here from our Commanders creator Avery. Again, this is a 14-team league, so definitely a little bit tougher to build juggernaut teams, especially when you're drafting with people that know what they're doing. All right, at the 10 spot, we started Nick Chubb, Mahomes, Mixon, Terry McLaurin, Dobbins, Lockett. I really like this start here. I'm not very in on Dobbins, who hasn't started practicing yet, and historically does not catch very many passes out of the backfield. I do like Nick Chubb a lot this year. I don't think I'd take him over Saquon, though he's going earlier than Saquon in most drafts. There's a pretty clear path to him getting more receiving work, though, this year, and he's been one of the most steady running backs in fantasy football. To join the mock drafts, by the way, guys, we're about to start another one. You got to be in the YouTube live or in the Discord. The way I do it, I send the link to all of our Discord members. It's a free to join Discord. I'll send it in the mock draft channel in Discord, and then a second later, I'll send it in the YouTube comments for everyone in the YouTube live to join. There's no way for me to send a link in the TikTok live, but if you want to join the YouTube live, link to that's right in the TikTok bio. Saquon Pollard, I absolutely love the RB start. I like the A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams start here too. And with getting Alvin Kamara in the third, I mean, he went early here, but I get it. If you start wide receiver, or you start wide receiver, tight end, or wide receiver, quarterback, getting Kamara just makes so much sense for you. The thing I would say, though, for this team that got Alvin Kamara, like you got to hammer running backs in these middle rounds. If you get Alvin Kamara, I don't love the like punt running back position after Alvin Kamara. You're going to get some duds here for the first 3 weeks in the running back slot with how you approach this. Like you should have been reaching, like I did. I got David Montgomery in the sixth, even though he's my fourth running back. That's the mindset you want if you're the Alvin Kamara team. You want to be reaching for some of these back end of starting running back tier. I don't hate Mike Williams, Goddard, or Herbert. I think they're all good players. I just think you're going to have a really big running back issue here in this Alvin Kamara team. Saquon Pollard, Cooper, Fields, JSN, Pickens, Elijah Moore, Brian Robinson. I like this team a lot. Weighted on tight end. I don't hate the tight ends you got. I think I like Higbee maybe a little bit more than Kmet, but you stacked him with Fields, which I guess is reasonable. I do like Elijah Moore in the 7th round. I think I like Elijah Moore more than Pickens. I think Pickens, he might end up on my do not draft list, which I think will be controversial. I'll talk more about that probably soon in a video. Let's look at these last two teams. This second last team, the 13th pick, started with Lamb, Henry, Walker, then Keenan, then Waller, Deontay Johnson. I love the value of Deontay Johnson. Like Deontay Johnson, one pick before George Pickens, guys, in a PPR league. That does not make sense. It just does not make sense. You need to be taking Deontay Johnson like a full round or two ahead of George Pickens, especially in PPR leagues, in my opinion. So I really like the value he got here at receiver. I like the Walker and Henry stack together. PPR, though, I think both those guys are a little bit worse. Like both these guys are going to get their points on the ground and through touchdowns. I like where you got Deshaun Watson. I think he could join that Trevor Lawrence tier for sure. Jameson Williams, Tank Bigsby, like them as late round picks. I don't think either Roschon Johnson or Justin Ross will be fantasy relevant this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, Joe Burrow. Went a 0 RB strat here in the back part of this draft. And then they got Rachaad White. I like him as a 0 RB target. I like where you got Pitts. He was the end of that tight end tier. And then, yeah, you just had to try to scrape it together at running back. You went A.J. Dillon, Samaje Perine. I like those guys as 0 running back targets too. I think both will be involved in their offenses. Both will catch passes. Honestly, this might be one of the better teams. I kind of wish you went Tony Pollard, though, instead of Garrett Wilson with your second pick. But I don't hate this. I don't hate this team at all. This is definitely one of the better teams, in my opinion. I like the Rondale Moore pick too late. He's been one of my favorite guys to target in the best ball drafts. All right, we're going to do one more mock draft. I'm going to make this right now. We're going to do a 12-team half PPR mock draft. Again, the fastest way to join these is to get into our Discord, and that's free to join. That's in the YouTube description. YouTube Live is you're two taps away from it if you're on the TikTok Live. It is right in the TikTok bio. We're going to go half PPR, 12 teams. I want to go towards the back end of the draft this time. I'm gonna snag pick 10 here, and then let me copy the link. I'll send it in Discord, and then I'll send it in the YouTube chat. Again, link to the YouTube Live is right in the TikTok bio. All right, I just sent it in Discord, and now I'm sending it in the YouTube comments. And we'll see how fast this one fills up. People starting to join. Trevor Martin's in on this one. He's our lead data scientist on the WalterPicks team. And wow, that filled fast. All right, we're going to start the draft. We got a 12-team half PPR mock going here now. JJ, I won because of him last year. Can I join in Discord or no? Yeah, you can join in Discord. That just filled really fast. Sam, could you do a 2 QB, 3 wide receiver, 10-team mock draft? That's my league's format. We'd really like to see how you approach that draft. Yeah, Brett, I will get around to a 2 QB league for sure. I definitely am in a Superflex league in one of my leagues this year. I'm not sure I'll get to it today, but I absolutely will get to that at some point on the YouTube. Okay, this draft just started. This is a half PPR format now, so it changes things just a slightly. Justin Jefferson still went first overall. McCaffrey went second. Chase went third. Eckler 4. Tyreek Hill 5th. Kelsey 6th. Bijan 7th. Saquon 8th. And wow, I'm about to be on the clock. And yeah, Cooper Kupp goes. And now I'm here, and I'm almost definitely going to go Nick Chubb here. Yeah, I'm going Chubb over Steph Diggs. I'm taking Chubb at 10 in this half PPR format. I thought about Diggs. I kind of just want to lock in one of these elite workhorse running backs, though, which there are not many of this year in a half PPR format, especially. This app is good. Thanks, man. If you're talking about the WalterPicks app, if you're talking about the Sleeper app too, also a good app. This is the Sleeper website and app, best place to do your fantasy leagues, host your fantasy leagues, and to do mock drafts. And yeah, the WalterPicks app is going to be the best app for your fantasy research. You can compare any two players at any given time, like Nick Chubb versus Steph Diggs. This is who I was considering here. I had a slight edge to Nick Chubb. Ceiling floor, just so elite here for Nick Chubb. Obviously, really good ceiling floor for Steph Diggs here as well. All right, I'm back on the clock. And yeah, Tony Pollard went. Oh, man. Between all these receivers is definitely a difficult one for me. I really want Amon-Ra, but I feel like I should go A.J. Brown. Yeah, we're going A.J. Brown. We took A.J. Brown. Sorry, you couldn't see it on the TikTok Live. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. And on the YouTube Live, you can see the entire draft board, just a little bit better of a viewing experience. On the YouTube Live, if you are watching live on YouTube, guys, smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate everyone that's tuned in right now. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the like button and the follow button. Zoom out, Bud Slur. Yeah, so on the YouTube Live, it's fully zoomed out. On the TikTok Live, I can't fully zoom out with this size of a camera on my phone. So this is the best you're going to get on the TikTok Live, but you can come to the YouTube Live easily, right? Like you're 2 clicks away. You go to the TikTok bio, click on the YouTube link, and you're there to the YouTube Live where you can see the entire draft board. Josh Jacobs went. Yeah, I think there's a really big drop off after Tony Pollard from the running backs. Like maybe Josh Jacobs, is gonna come back and be fine and get the volume he had last year, but he's not there yet. He's not playing. He's not on the team right now. He's not at the facility while the whole rest of the team is practicing. At worst case, or at best case, that is going to at least lead to a slower start to start the season, especially the longer and longer this goes on. I'm pretty nervous about Josh Jacobs overall. I'm not drafting him until he reports to camp. And then Jonathan Taylor is a similar situation. Like, yeah, maybe starting McCaffrey JT is going to be an absolutely ridiculous start to a fantasy draft if JT plays, or maybe you just sunk your second round pick because Jonathan Taylor hates his team so much and his ankle is injured that you're going to just not have your second round pick for at least part of the season. That's why I'm not drafting Jonathan Taylor right now either. I would just rather draft guys that I know for sure are going to be playing week 1 and that I know for sure are healthy right now. People do so much estimation. People overestimate their ability to predict injuries. My philosophy with injuries has really always been, is the guy injured currently? Because if he's injured currently, I'm a little bit concerned. I'm at least a little bit concerned. He actively has an injury. We know a lot of it obviously depends on the injury a little bit, but a lot of the injuries, like these groin injuries, hamstring injuries, they can recur throughout the season. Or is he not actively injured? Like Michael Thomas, fully healthy right now, playing 100% in practice. Like, I'm not going to draft Michael Thomas like he's injured like most people, because I don't think we can predict injuries as well as we think we can. How do I join? Yeah, in the future, you got to hop into the YouTube live. With link to that's right in the TikTok bio, or you can join our Discord, and the link to that also in the YouTube description. Can you post a video on running back rankings /tiers? Yeah, Zach, I definitely can get a video out about running backs rankings and tiers. You think AJ Brown is better than Amon-Ra? So I honestly, it's really tough for me. I'm pretty sure the WalterPicks app is going to tell me AJ Brown over Amon-Ra. This is half PPR here too. Let's compare these two guys here. And yeah, AJ Brown's 1 spot ahead of Amon-Ra here in these rankings. It's super close. And I think in PPR, I feel even better about Amon-Ra versus AJ Brown. And while, yeah, the ceiling and floor for Amon-Ra is really, really elite, I think the floor probably should be a little bit higher here for AJ Brown. We got a slight projection bump for AJ. I personally, I feel like you just look at some of these numbers from last year, and it's tough to not be taking AJ Brown over Amon-Ra. I'm very bullish on Amon-Ra. I think in half PPR, though, I'd lean AJ for the touchdown ceiling, and in full PPR, I'd lean Amon-Ra for just the locked in, really high floor of targets and receptions that he's going to get. So I think that's a little bit of non-answer, but I'm generally leaning more towards Amon-Ra than AJ Brown, but I think they're in that elite tier of receivers that kind of ends right around CeeDee Lamb. I'm not sure Garrett Wilson's quite in that tier yet. Maybe he is, but I definitely think once you get to the Chris Olave section of the draft, you're past that tier. Yeah, this is going to be an auto smash pick for me every single time. If he's there in the 3rd round, it's the first mock draft I've seen him go in the 3rd. But yeah, I feel really, really good about Calvin Ridley in the 3rd round. I think Ridley has a very, very clear path to being a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy football. There's almost no receivers going outside of the first 2 rounds that have that type of path. Basically, the path for Ridley is just he returns to the form he was in 2 years ago, the last time we saw him play in a healthy fashion, and he returns to that form with a better quarterback in Trevor Lawrence than he was playing with last in Matt Ryan. I think there's a path there for Calvin Ridley to absolutely smash. I'm taking him in the 3rd round almost every single time. Like, if you're in a draft with me and Ridley's there in the 3rd round, he's probably on my team, like almost every single time. Okay, we're going to be on the clock here again soon. I'm drafting next to some studs here, our Chiefs creator and Falcons creator in this mock draft. How do you know your app is more accurate than other sites? Yeah, so we've tracked it against other sites, historically speaking. That's how we know. But also, like, just the amount of time and money and just human manpower and computer science power we poured into our projections, I feel really good about nobody else being able to out-project us from a fantasy football perspective. All right, we're back on the clock here. Man, 4th round, Alvin Kamara. I don't necessarily hate that. I do like Debo here too. I know it's a half PPR league. There's still that elite QB tier kicking around as well. The 12-team leagues are so much better. And I'm actually going to go with Alvin Kamara here. I want to see how this shakes out. So I took Alvin Kamara here in the 4th. Sorry, if TikTok Live, you couldn't see that. I know Kamara suspended the first 3 games. I'm hoping that the Kareem Hunt signing maybe kicks Kamara down a little bit more in average draft position. I feel better about him in the 5th, 6th. We'll see how I feel when the team shakes out, though. This is why you do mock drafts, to test different strategies and to see how they go. Yeah, I don't think that Kareem Hunt will really eat into Alvin Kamara, like, really at all. I think that it would definitely be an overestimation, an overblown reaction to the Kareem Hunt signing. I think, like, Kareem Hunt has a pretty good chance to be inactive on game days. Once Alvin Kamara comes back, it's going to be Kamara, Jamal Williams, and then it's going to be Keandre versus Kareem Hunt, and maybe they're both active if they can find a special teams role. But guys, Alvin Kamara has been top 3 in target share at the running back position for 6 straight years. 6 consecutive years he's ranked top 3 in running back target share. I think worst case this year he falls to maybe top 5. And I want running backs to catch passes, even in half PPR leagues. The ceiling for Alvin Kamara is top 5 running back in fantasy football. You're not really getting that with that many guys at this point in the draft. I think round 4 is a little bit steep. We'll see how I feel again, how the team comes out later in this draft. But yeah, I want Alvin Kamara on my teams. Again, I also think people overweight the beginning of the season versus the end of the season. When the end of the season is when you win your fantasy football leagues. That's when I want the elite players on my team is the end of the season. If I can scrape together some running backs, which I have a feeling I'll be able to do in this 12-person draft, I'm okay, eating those first 3 games for Kamara. How do your QB ranks change in 4-point for 6-point passing touchdown leagues? Yeah, they don't change like a ton because obviously all the quarterbacks benefit from that, but it definitely the 4-point passing touchdown leagues, they make the rushing quarterbacks even more overpowered than they already are because rushing touchdowns are worth 6 points in almost all leagues. So the rushing QBs get an even bigger boost in the 4-point passing touchdown leagues than the 6-point passing touchdown leagues. That's the biggest difference. Otherwise, it's really not going to change all that much. Quarterbacks in general will score more, but that's pretty much across the board of the position. If I can't get Devontae Smith or Gibbs in the 3rd, then I'm going to try to get Ridley. Yeah, I think that's a relatively good strategy. I think all 3 of those guys have a really, really high ceiling this year. If you keep popping up here and on my Insta, Sam, love to hear that, man. Yeah, we're grinding on the content game this time of the year. This is the time, man. This is the time to prepare for your fantasy football drafts. And after your draft, you can grind the waiver wire, you can grind in trades and turn things around. But the draft day is it's so crucial, so pivotal in fantasy football. What round is T-Law going in when you draft him with Ridley? Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence has not been picked yet in this mock draft. We're in round 5 right now. And actually, I took Calvin Ridley. I also took Alvin Kamara, which I got some heat for in the comments. Some people just straight up left alive after I took Kamara here in the 4th round. We'll see again how this team shakes out. I'm pretty bullish on my ability to get some mid-round running backs that can withstand the 3-game suspension for Kamara, and I'm not worried about Kareem Hunt really at all. What wrong with George Pickens? Yeah, so I just think people are a little bit higher on George Pickens than they should be because he makes these insane highlight reel catches, but you don't get bonus points for highlight reel catches in fantasy football. You get bonus points for receptions, yards, touchdowns. Highlight reel catches really have nothing to do with it, and George Pickens is on a run-first team. They clearly want to be a run-first team. Deontay Johnson will lead the team in targets. Najee will get a lot of targets too. Like, I just don't see that many games where George Pickens gets like this big target volume. So I'm not hugely into George Pickens week-to-week consistency in fantasy. So that's why I'm pretty out on him, and I have a decent feeling he'll be on my do not draft list because I think he's one of the more hyped up players just from a national media perspective. I'm not that high on Najee either. So Najee went in like a similar spot to last draft. I'm on the clock here. Madison got picked here. Let's look at the tight ends left. That tight end tier is still kicking around. I do like Drake London a lot. I like Mike Williams a lot too. Oh, but this is, oh man. Yeah, Herb's still sitting here. I'm going to go Justin Herbert. I kind of want the Trevor Lawrence Calvin Ridley stack, but I like Herbert more than Lawrence. This is the first time in one of these drafts I haven't had to go late QB. So I feel pretty good about Herb. Who was the number 1 pick? Yeah, this is a half PPR 12-team draft. Justin Jefferson went first, McCaffrey 2, Chase 3. I've seen Chase go second more than I've seen McCaffrey go second, but I've seen that interchanged a decent amount. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio, and you can see the entire draft board on the screen at once. Just a little bit better of a viewing experience. Is this your last draft on the live? Carlo, I'm going to hold off on answering that yet. We'll see how much energy I have at the end of this draft. Maybe I got one more in me, but I'll probably be live again tomorrow at some point. Who do you think will score more TDs this year, Wilson or St. Brown? Yeah, my bet would be on Amon-Ra St. Brown over Garrett Wilson. I feel better about Amon-Ra like a decent amount more than I do Garrett Wilson, but I think the ceiling for Garrett Wilson is probably just a little bit higher. All right, we're on the clock here again, and man, I kind of want this Mike Williams, Jay Herbo stack, but I almost can guarantee all these tight ends are going to be gone again, and I'm going to have to get Dolce again late, which is kind of annoying. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna get the Mike Williams, Jay Herbo stack. I really like Mike Williams this year. I think 6th round is a little bit pricey, but a reasonable cost to be paying for Mike Williams. Darren Waller went 1 pick later. I probably should have gone tight end. We'll see how late Pitts goes in this draft. I've seen Pitts go after Waller and Kittle in like almost every draft, after Goddard too. And there goes Dallas Goedert here as well. Let me zoom out a tiny bit for the TikTok live. How many men in this league? This is a 12-team half PPR mock draft that you're watching right now. Andrew Sam says no. Did I snag Herbert from? Yeah, you wanted the Keenan Allen Herbert stack. You got the Trevor Lawrence Kirk stack, Sam. So you did just fine here. Yeah, we saw the Trevor Lawrence Christian Kirk stack. I like this team that Sam's is building here from the 12 spot a lot. Hill or Cup? Yeah, I'm on team Cooper Cup over Tyreek Hill. I get the argument for both sides. I just think, especially if we're talking PPR, I think Cooper Cup is a pretty good bet to lead the league in targets and receptions. We've already seen him do that. And he did that last year on a per game basis before he got hurt. Would it be fine to take Tyreek at second overall full point PPR? It's fine, Landon. I wouldn't do it, but it is fine. Like, it's not like it's that egregious if you really want Tyreek on your team. But I would take McCaffrey over Tyreek. I would take Jamar Chase over Tyreek. I would take Austin Eckler over Tyreek. And I think I would take Cooper Kupp over Tyreek Hill also. So it's not what I would recommend, but it's also not that egregious. Tyreek is in that top tier of players from a fantasy football perspective. Why do you pick Kamara? What's the hype on him? Yeah, I'll talk about Kamara just a tiny bit more. When I made that pick, actually, a bunch of people in the comments were like, I'm just straight up leaving after that pick. So I have the 10th pick here. I started with Nick Chubb. I took Kamara in the 4th round. And really, the story here with Alvin Kamara, he suspended 3 games. Just 3 games. You're going to have to piece together some running backs behind him in fantasy football for the first 3 weeks. But Alvin Kamara is coming off one of his least efficient seasons in the NFL. He's declined in efficiency, which is part of the reason that's driving his price down. But guys, Alvin Kamara has been top 3 in target share at the running back position for 6 consecutive years. He's been top 3 at the running back position in the percentage of his team's targets going his way. And I think worst case scenario, maybe that drops down to like he finishes top 5 this year. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs can beat him in target share this year. Like maybe Bijan Robinson, Saquon, Eckler, McCaffrey, all those guys maybe can be ahead of him. But odds are Alvin Kamara ranks top 5 in target share this year, and I want running backs that catch passes because those guys have the highest ceiling, especially in half PPR and especially in full PPR leagues. I think in a half PPR league, I feel a little bit worse about this Alvin Kamara 4th round pick, but in a PPR league, I'd feel even better about it. And again, I also just have confidence in myself that I'm going to be able to find some decent value guys in these mid rounds that can help me in these first 3 weeks until Alvin Kamara comes back. Guys, even with the decline in efficiency from Alvin Kamara last year, because he's seeing so many targets, he still finished number 13 in fantasy points per game at the running back position, and he just has a ceiling that's higher than most players in fantasy football. So yeah, that's the story with Kamara. I'm okay drafting him with the 3-game suspension. Again, I feel better about it in full PPR formats than I do in half PPR formats. And man, James Cook just got sniped there. Definitely a little bit concerning here for me and my running back situation as I tout how confident I am I'm going to be able to piece it together here at the running back spot. I don't feel great about what's left for me at this point. I'm probably going to go AJ Dillon. Oh God. Yeah. I feel much worse about this now after James Cook just got sniped here right before my pick. I'm not feeling quite as good. I feel horrible too, taking AJ Dillon 1 pick after James Cook. I don't feel like those guys have the same ceiling. The reason I want Tyreek is because he was on pace for 2,000 yards and he performs even without Tua. Chase would, with Burrow backup, also mid-rounds running back spot. So yeah, I think Landon, that's fine logic there. Like I'm fine with that. I'm fine with you taking Tyreek at 2 overall. Again, I'd probably lean McCaffrey though over him. If I take CMC 2nd overall, who should I take with my 2nd pick at 211? Yeah, there's going to be some good receivers there. Like look at the receivers that were left, for those guys in this draft right now. Guys like Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, all those guys are probably going to be around at your 2nd pick and 3rd pick. So I think CMC over Tyreek is probably a solid move. No tight end. Yeah, I haven't taken a tight end yet. My general tight end strategy, if I miss on this elite tier of tight ends, and I missed on, I want one of these 7 tight ends that has already been taken. Mark Andrews, Kelsey, Pitts, Hawkinson, Goddard, Waller, and Kittle. I think there's a clear tier there. And I think there's a really significant drop-off after that tier. Evan Ingram is next, and then Njoku and Muth. Like these guys are next in my rankings. I just don't feel that much better about those guys than I do the guys going like a full 3 rounds after them, like Greg Dulcich, who I'm going to be able to get probably round 10, 11, or 12. So I'll probably wait on tight end for a while now that I haven't taken one. Maybe I should warm up to Muth and Njoku just a little bit, but yeah, I'm not feeling the need to reach for these tight ends that are still not going to be reliable for me week to week. Kareem going to New Orleans, Kansas City, or back to Browns. It sounds like Kareem's going to the Saints. That seems like pretty much confirmed the last report I'm going to take Antonio Gibson here with my next pick. Another running back that I really like to target Antonio Gibson if you're building a zero running back strat. Also going to like him a lot for the Alvin Kamara teams that I have. He's going to catch passes. He's going to have the third down role for the Commanders. Plus, we know he can be efficient in the running game too, and I want running backs that catch passes. Antonio Gibson's probably going to need a Brian Robinson injury to be a league winner in fantasy football, but he's at least one of these guys. Same thing with A.J. Dillon. Like, he needs an injury to Aaron Jones probably to be a league winner too, but they're both at least one injury away. There's going to be a lot of backup running backs drafted that you think are an injury away, and they actually are not an injury away. They actually are really, they're never going to be a workhorse back. Even with an injury, the team will sign someone, or they'll still mix in two backs even after an injury. There's going to be a lot of guys like that. I don't think A.J. Dillon and Antonio Gibson are going to be like that. Any tips for a full PPR but 2 QB league? Yeah, if you're doing a 2 QB league, you're going to see quarterbacks fly. I mean, fly off the board. Like, probably of the first 10 picks, probably 8 or 9 of them will be quarterbacks. You can build some really dominant teams going with a late QB strategy, but you're going to want one of these top tier quarterbacks. Like, you want to target them really aggressively. You want Mahomes, you want Allen, you want Hurts, you want Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. You want these guys. It's okay to burn a top 10 pick on one of those guys. But once those guys fall off, I think people overprice the mid-tier quarterbacks just a little bit too heavily in Superflex and 2 QB leagues. And you can build some really dominant teams going with a late QB strat. You can get guys like the late QBs I really like, Geno Smith, Brock Purdy. You're going to get those guys in like round 3, 4, 5 in a 2 QB league. Also, I don't hate Desmond Ridder. He's got a lot of good weapons around him too, and he's pretty fast. I think his rushing upside is a little bit slept on in 2 QB leagues, especially. I think Mac Jones, honestly, is a late target too. I think the Pats offense can't be worse than last year, and he's going to be going in like round 6, 7, 8 of a 2 QB league. You need at least 2 starting quarterbacks, though. Obviously, that's key. And some people will draft 3 quarterbacks, so you got to be careful not to make sure you have 2 starting quarterbacks on your team. But yeah, I think that my general 2 QB Superflex strategies, I want at least one of those top tier guys if I can get them, but I'm willing to wait and build just dominant teams where you can stack together guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, Jefferson and CMC, or like some of these early first round picks in most fantasy leagues, you can stack together late in those Superflex 2 QB drafts. Is the 6th pick a good spot? Yeah, I don't hate the 6th pick at all. 6th pick in this draft got Travis Kelce, and there's going to be some really good players in the 2nd round for you too from the 6th spot. I kind of think my favorite pick, though, is like the top 5 picks or the back 3 picks. I think those are my favorite spots to be in fantasy. So 6th pick doesn't quite fall in there, but there's definitely some drafts that can shake out even better from the 6th spot than like the 4 spot or the 5 spot, depending on how your league drafts. I drafted a crazy team from the 1.5. Yeah, definitely it's doable to draft some pretty dominant teams from a lot of different spots this year. Every draft is going to be different. Would you take Hill over Chase if you want to get Mixon, or just draft a different running back? Yeah, Duke, it's just tough to know for sure you're going to get Mixon. So like I don't like drafting, quite with this mindset, but from generally speaking, I would rather have I don't like stacking running backs and receivers. Like, so I get where you're coming from here. It's just hard to know, like, ahead of time, is Mixon going to be there for me? But yeah, if you really want Mixon and you're willing to draft him like a round ahead of his ADP, then yeah, maybe that is a good reason to take Tyreek Hill if you don't want to stack Chase and Mixon together, which I generally don't want to do. Smith or Ridley? Yeah, that's a really tough one for me, Devin. I still have Devontae Smith ahead of Calvin Ridley, but Ridley's right after him. And I like Ridley more than T. Higgins. I like Ridley more than TK Metcalf. I think I like him more. I like Olave and Devontae Smith more than, and Jalen Waddle. I think all those guys I would probably consider pretty strongly over Ridley, but it's close. But after that, like, it's Ridley for sure. And I think there's a case for Ridley over Olave as well. I honestly think Waddle and Devontae Smith I might take ahead of Olave also. Thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs? Yeah, he's just got an insane ceiling. Let me pull up the comparison with Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm about to be on the clock here, actually, so I'll pull it up after. And I think Njoku's still there, right? I'm going to take Njoku. Actually, not going to – I don't really need to take him yet because they both have tight ends. God, I do not want Juju in fantasy, like, really at all. So I'm just gonna take Njoku. I'm not gonna overthink it or let them snipe me. I like the late round tight end strat, but at this point in round 9, I feel pretty good about getting Njoku at this spot. Let me move myself here for the YouTube live people. How do I join these mock drafts? There's a Discord link in the YouTube description, and that's where I post the links to the mock drafts. And then also, if you just join the YouTube lives, when the live starts. I send a link in the YouTube live comments as well. I'm not able to send links in the TikTok lives. At the 105, is it better to go Tyreek or Travis Kelce? Yeah, I lean Kelce over Tyreek. It's definitely super close though. It's extremely close. I think you're not going wrong either way. I think most people are taking Tyreek over Kelce. You can see in this draft, Tyreek went ahead of Kelce. I personally have Kelce ahead of Tyreek, but it's definitely really tight. And it also depends on your league. Like, I think the larger and larger league you're in, so a 10-team league, I think Kelce's a little bit less valuable than he is in a 12-team league than he is in a 14-team league. Like the larger league you're in, the bigger advantage Kelce's going to be over those teams that are just scraping together horrible tight ends. So I think that if you're in a 10-team league, I don't feel great about Kelce over Hill. 12-team league, I think I would probably do it. 14-team league, I think I would definitely do it. A 10-team league, though, I think Hill over Kelce's fine. Where would you take Bijan? Yeah, at the back end of the first round. And that's where he's going pretty consistently. I would not take him where he went here. He went 7th overall. I mean, taking him over Saquon and Chubb is definitely really, really aggressive. But the ceiling case is there. I think we have him ranked like really, really highly in the WalterPicks app too. So really anywhere in the mid to late first round is reasonable for Bijan Robinson, who's going to catch a lot of passes and going to be involved in the running game. I'm a little surprised to see where Raheem Mostert's going in some of these drafts. I feel like Raheem Mostert is likely going to be the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins. I know Jeff Wilson's still there. Devon Achane, I think he's going earlier, I think, then. Yeah, he went in the 9th round. And I like him too. He's probably going to be a better receiving back than Mostert. But I think Mostert's got the clearer path to start week 1. I like him a lot in best ball too. He's definitely going to be a tough guy to project week to week. And he won't be starting, on this team anytime soon. But I like him a lot more than Damian Harris. I like Tank Bigsby probably more, though, than Mostert. I think I like Mostert more than Tyler Algier, though. I think that team didn't draft Bijan. Thoughts on Waller? Yeah, I like Waller a lot. I like him a lot. I want Waller on my teams. I probably should have taken Waller ahead of Mike Williams in this draft, and then he took a receiver instead of one of these guys. I also looking back. I don't feel great about Kamara in the 4th year in this half PPR league. I definitely would feel better about it in PPR format. I waited a little bit too long to get the running back behind him, and now I'm going to be in some trouble. I think these first 3 weeks, I'm going to have to guess between AJ Dillon, Antonio Gibson in my starting lineup. I don't really love that. I do like my flex in half PPR formats, especially in non-PPR formats even more so. The lesser points you get for receptions, the more I want a running back in my flex slot over a wide receiver. Where are you taking JT? I'm not drafting JT right now. I'm not taking him. He's on my do not draft list pretty firmly right now. That'll change the second he comes back to practice. He'll be probably back end of the first round pick like he was before everything went down with him. But yeah, JT and Josh Jacobs are firmly on my do not draft list right now. That definitely could come back to bite me. Both really elite running backs when they're healthy. Jacobs led the league in rushing. I mean, JT we saw be the number 1 running back just a couple of years ago. So yeah, I don't feel great about either of those guys right now who are not practicing. And yeah, look at this. The late round tight end strat works because you're getting Dolch in the 10th round. I took Dolch in the last 3 mock drafts we did. But yeah, you're getting him in the 10th round. That's pretty elite. I think that's pretty elite. All right, let me pull up my calendar here and see if I can do one more mock draft for us. I think I want to do a Superflex mock. I know someone asked about that. And I think I should have time for one more. I'll do it for the chat, guys. I'll do it for everyone tuned in right now. I appreciate everyone tuned in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube, and hit the like and follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. Hunter Henry or Mike Gesicki? I'm leaning Hunter Henry right now. And that seems like all the reports out of camp are leaning Hunter Henry. All the ADPs, the average draft positions on basically every platform, have Gesicki drafted ahead of Hunter Henry. I disagree with that. I think it's Henry over Gesicki. I think Hunter Henry is one of the more underrated tight ends in the NFL at this point. Let's compare Hunter Henry to some guys going ahead of him here and using the WalterPicks app. Again, this is the WalterPicks app, free to install in the TikTok bio or YouTube description. Let me pull up Hunter Henry here. And what tight end should we compare him to that's getting drafted ahead of him? How about Muth? Let's compare him to Pat Freiermuth, who's going well ahead of him in every draft. And obviously we got Muth projected ahead of him. He's the better guy to draft. But we look at some of the stats here from last season. Points per game was Muth. Yards per game, Muth pretty easily. Same amount of touchdowns per game. Hunter Henry played 74% of snaps. That's probably not going anywhere. He had more yards per catch, at least, than him. Still, yeah, he got pretty crushed in all these metrics. I thought this was going to be a little bit closer than it was. But yeah, I like Hunter Henry more than I do Mike Gesicki. I've for sure taken Muth over Hunter Henry. That was just a random comparison to do. Okay, we're back on the clock. And Juju's still there. Man, nobody wants Juju in fantasy this year, which is understandable, even though he's probably going to lead the Pats in receiving. I'll take him as a Pats fan here in the later rounds as my 4th wide receiver. I have a feeling I think Juju's a better real-life wide receiver than he is a fantasy wide receiver at this point in his career and just on the Pats. I don't know what his real ceiling is. I'm already regretting the pick, honestly. The receivers available late in drafts are really, really bleak. Pretty bleak all around here, these receivers. I like DJ Chark, Nico Collins maybe, as a stab late in drafts, but overall, the receivers drop off really, really, really quickly, really quickly. Definitely it's a good case for making sure you get at least 2 receivers early. And I did in this draft. I got AJ Brown and Calvin Ridley, took Mike Williams early too. Yeah, we'll go Nico. We'll go Nico Collins. I feel like Nico Collins should be drafted by the 12th round in drafts. He's probably going to be the number 1 receiver for the Texans. Would you stack Mahomes and Kelsey in round 1 and 2? I don't hate it. It's definitely an aggressive move. Not taking a receiver or a running back in the first 2 rounds, it's aggressive. It's an aggressive move for sure. But I do think that it is a valid strategy. I don't hate stacking those 2 guys, number 1, potentially at both their positions. You're just going to have to piece it together and successfully get some mid-round receivers and running backs. It's doable, but it's definitely an aggressive strategy. High risk, high reward, I would say. Sky Moore's going to have a breakout year. Yeah, I do like Sky Moore. 11th round pick, pretty solid 11th round pick. Right now, Sky Moore seems pretty locked into being one of the starting receivers for the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to have a piecemeal approach at the receiver position, though, and I'm not sure any of them will be super consistent on a weekly basis, but I think Sky Moore has the best story to tell of being that guy that can be consistent and be that slot receiver for Mahomes. He's a year 2 receiver. You always want to be targeting those as well. Okay, Pitts or Waller? Yeah, I'm slightly in Team Waller over Pitts, and I wasn't in that team until very recently, but I am in Waller over Pitts team now, and I'll pull up a comparison of those guys too in just a second. I just think that the risk for Pitts is just a little bit higher, and I think the reward, the upside for both guys is relatively similar. Maybe Pitts has a little bit higher of an upside, but really I think it's pretty similar. And I think the floor for Waller is higher than it is for Pitts. All right, we're going to do one more mock draft here. It's going to be a Superflex league. Was this a 4? No, this is a 12-team league. Let me start a new mock draft here, not a league. Mock draft, new. We're going to change the settings here to, this is going to be a 12-team Superflex PPR league. Let me change the roster settings. We're going to add a Superflex slot, update. And does that not change the ADPs here? Because if it doesn't, that's kind of wild. All right, what pick do I want to give myself here in this Superflex draft? I think I'm going to conveniently give myself pick 5, which I feel pretty good about. Okay, let me copy the link. I'll send it in Discord. Then I will send it in the YouTube chat. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, YouTube Live, you're 2 clicks away from. It's right in the TikTok bio. All right, Superflex, 12-team. I'm live. Let me send that in the Discord. I'm not going to talk about teams from the last draft just because I want to get going on this one. And wow, I think the Discord just filled up that draft extremely fast. All right, we're going to start this. This is going to be a Superflex. This is a Superflex 12-team league, that mock draft that just started here. We're going to live stream this one on TikTok and on YouTube. And should be able to get through the whole thing. I do have to run for sure in 1 hour. So we'll see. It shouldn't take more than an hour. All right, I'm already on the clock here. And I think this is going to be an easy choice for me. I think I'm taking Fields. Yeah, I'm going Fields over Joe Burrow. I want to see where our rankings are at here with that too. But I'm feeling pretty good about Fields over Burrow from a fantasy perspective. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. What's going on here? All right. And yeah, we got Fields ahead of Lamar and Burrow in the WalterPicks rankings, which I do feel pretty good about. Okay, yeah, I want to look at these tight ends. And yeah, we have Waller ahead of Pitts now, and it's pretty close here between Waller and Pitts. But yeah, the floor is just a little bit better for Waller. It's just a little bit better for Waller than it is for Pitts, Waller's going to lead the Giants in targets if he stays healthy. And you just can't say the exact same thing about Pitts. It definitely could be Drake London. And Pitts is just in an offensive situation like we saw last year and really the year before that is going to throw the ball and use different guys, especially in the red zone. He scored 2 touchdowns. Pitts has 2 career touchdowns. The peripheral numbers for Pitts are insane. Like if you compare some of these peripheral numbers, air yards and target share. I'm looking at the difference in air yards and target share last year for Pitts and Darren Waller. Probably the 2 most important stats to look at from a volume perspective, and it's not even close. It's not even close. 27% target share. Like Pitts can be the tight end 1. It's just shocking that he only scored 1 touchdown given these air yards and target share. But yeah, the ceiling and floor still, it's better for Darren Waller in his offensive situation. You just know the usage, the touchdowns should be there more so. So yeah, I'm taking Waller over Pitts. I'm also just like a little bit nervous about Pitts coming back from the injury, and Waller's already practicing at full health. So it's close. It's definitely super close, but I'm leaning Waller over Pitts as well. But generally speaking, I just want to be the guy that gets the end of that tight end tier. Filled so fast, dang. Yeah, that filled before I could blink. Yeah, that one filled really, really fast. For sure, that filled fast. All right, we are doing a Superflex 12-team PPR mock draft here on the live. Olave for Smitty. Yeah, I like Devontae Smith a little bit more than I do Chris Olave. I like Chris Olave. Just the price you got to pay for him this year, I think is really, really aggressive with Michael Thomas going to be coming back and healthy. And I don't think Olave is going to be in this tier of like the elite wide receivers that are going in the first and like beginning of the second round. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous that I'm not going to have much Olave this year with how expensive he is in drafts. He's going before Calvin Ridley. He's going before Devontae Smith in most drafts. Where would you take Bijan PPR? Yeah, so I think I had Bijan in the back end of the first round. I posted a video about how I think the first round should go. And in most drafts, that means I'm probably not going to get him. I actually took him, I think, 8th overall in the very first draft I did a while ago. And yeah, we'll go Nick Chubb here. Pretty happily get Nick Chubb in this PPR format as my RB1. This is Superflex League. I want one of these 3 guys too. I'm okay passing on this mid QB tier if that's what I have to do as well. Again, this is a Superflex. This is a Superflex mock draft, 12-team Superflex mock draft. I had the 5th pick. I started Fields and Nick Chubb. I took Fields over Burrow. And wow, I really like where Herbert went in the Superflex League. I think Lawrence ahead of Herbert is a little bit – I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take Lawrence ahead of Herbert. Again, this is a Superflex draft. And man, yeah, you can build some just insanely dominant teams if you don't go QB in the first 2 rounds, as long as you can piece it together later with quarterbacks, which you absolutely can. You absolutely can. We're live on YouTube and TikTok right now, guys. If you come to the YouTube live, link is right in the TikTok bio. You're going to get a better viewing experience. You're going to see the entire draft board on the screen at once, plus the comments are just a little bit less on the YouTube live. So it's just a better viewing experience overall. Would recommend if you want to see the entire draft board to go to the TikTok bio and go to the YouTube live. Thanks for the follow, Aiden. I do appreciate that. Appreciate all the follows and the subscribes too on the YouTube live. I really, really do appreciate it, guys. It's going to be a fun season. I'm pumped that it's draft season. About to be back on the clock here. And I think I have a sense of what I'm going to be doing. Yeah, I think I know what I'm going to do here. I'll talk through it in a second. Yeah, this guy just stacked Lamar and Andrews. I do like to be the first person to get a second QB in this format, but I want Breece in PPR leagues. So I'm going with the Nick Chubb, Breece Hall. I'm taking Breece ahead of Jonathan Taylor, ahead of Josh Jacobs. I'm taking him ahead of Ramondre Stevenson as well. I mean, JT and Josh Jacobs, I'm just straight up not drafting right now until they report to their respective teams. And I have faith that they're actually going to be out there and playing week 1 and are healthy. Once they are confirmed healthy and playing for their team week 1, I think I'd rank both those guys ahead of Breece. But right now I'm just fading them as hard as possible. And I think Breece Hall he's going to smash guys in PPR leagues. It sounds like he's going to be ready for week 1, as has been the trend for a while. Why is there a single QB first round, let alone 8 of them? This is a super flex league. So you start 2 quarterbacks in this league. So it changes the dynamics of quarterbacks really dramatically because there's 12 teams in the league. Everyone starts 2 QBs. Some people will draft 3 QBs because, again, you start 2 of them. So you got to get these elite QBs early in the draft. So yeah, that's why you're seeing quarterbacks go early. This is a super flex PPR league. So yeah, that makes more sense now. Hopefully But yeah, you can build some really dominant teams. I mean, look at these teams in the back half. You start Cooper Kupp, Kelsey, McCaffrey, Eckler, Herbert, Bijan, Jamar Chase, Tyreek. I mean, really, really elite starts here, I'd say, even from a Superflex perspective. I like that Tua pick. I was considering Tua and Breece Hall with my previous pick, and I picked at number 5 here. I went Breece, and Tua didn't go till much later. I like Tua ahead of Dak. I mean, guys, let's pull up some of the Tua numbers really quickly here from last season. I think they might surprise some people. Tua was in MVP conversation, guys, before he went down. And now the conversation around Tua is that like he's just like auto going to get hurt. Let's compare him to Dak, because Dak is probably not too far off in some of these numbers. And yeah, we have Tua pretty firmly ahead of Dak in the projections of the WalterPicks app. Tua averaged more points per game, more yards per game, a little bit less touchdowns per game. Obviously, the snaps are down just because he didn't play in some of those games he got hurt. Less interceptions per game. He threw less attempts, less completions. But yeah, the yards per attempt, the air yards, Tua is better. Tua is better than Dak Prescott in fantasy football. And it's just because of the weapons he has and the offense he's in. And the other guy I really like late, and we're going to see him go. I'm interested to see where he goes in the Superflex mock. But Brock Purdy is kind of like Tua, like he's like a Tua light version. He's like a light version of Tua. He also has some injury concerns, right? But you just look at the talent around Brock Purdy. Like we see these guys going drafted. They're getting drafted so early. McCaffrey's going in the first round. We see Debo going in the third round. Ayuk's going in the 4th or 5th round. Kittle's going in the 4th or 5th round. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy's going basically undrafted in fantasy football. And I don't think that makes a ton of sense. If we think all of his weapons are going to have elite seasons, that probably means Purdy's going to have a pretty good fantasy season too. So I think he's a really good late round QB target. It's basically free in drafts right now. We'll see where he goes in the Superflex league. Anthony Richardson and Tua. I like this start here in a Superflex format here for Drew Anthony at the 10 spot. You get the two top running backs in PPR leagues, and then 2 quarterbacks that definitely have really, really high upside and honestly solid floors as long as they stay healthy and are playing the whole season. Anthony Richardson is going to be crazy in fantasy football with his rushing. What is Brees' injury, though? What if they sign Dalvin? Yeah, I'm not that worried about them signing anybody. I think I'm okay with them like bringing Brees along a little bit slowly and giving him like the 10 to 15 touch range rather than the 20 plus touch range that he was in once he really came into form last year. As long as he's getting to that 20 plus touch range late in the season, which I think he will do. Okay, let's see. The quarterbacks available, definitely dropping off now. I'm going to take Devontae Smith here. Calvin Ridley already went off the board. I think Devontae Smith is pretty close to this Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley tier, and I put him ahead of, I think, all of those guys except for Waddle. Maybe he's ahead of Waddle too. Let's compare those two guys from last season. I know Tua missed a decent portion of the season. Again, this is the WalterPicks app, free to install in the TikTok bio and in the YouTube description if you haven't checked it out yet. Really good for just doing player comparisons and draft research, but also there's league sync functionality that links directly to your league and updates live during your draft for insights live during your draft. All right. We have Devontae Smith just slightly ahead of him. This is half PPR, though. Let's change this to PPR. Again, another reason this is an elite app is it's custom to your league scoring settings. We're looking at a PPR mock here, so let's look at PPR projections. And yeah, Devontae Smith gets a slight edge, a little bit better of a floor, but a higher ceiling from Waddle. Waddle was better last year, though, by a decent margin. And that was without Tua for a decent portion of it. It makes me want to lean Waddle a little bit over Devontae Smith, despite this projection. What were the air yards at? Yeah, Waddle had the edge in air yards. Man, look at the target share difference, though. Wow, 27% to 21%. That makes sense why Devontae's projected a little bit higher now. Okay, we're about to be back on the clock here. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, if you want to see the whole draft board view, you can come to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. And yeah, we're on the clock here. And I think I'm going to continue to wait. I kind of want to get T. Higgins. But I'm going to actually go TJ Hawkinson. I'd like to look where Mark Andrews gets picked. If I can get TJ Hawkinson like a full 2 rounds after Mark Andrews, I feel pretty good about that overall. I think they're a little bit closer than people realize. I think Hawk is the guy that can jump into that like Andrews Kelsey tier with the target totals that he had last season. Let's pull up this comparison here, Andrews versus Hawkinson. And of course, Andrews does have the edge by a decent margin, but they averaged the same amount of points per game last year. Not that much less yards for Hawk. He scored more touchdowns, played more snaps, had more receptions per game. Again, a little less yards per game. He ran more routes. He had more targets. I mean, not that far off here. I mean, the target share difference. Wow, again, the target share difference is pretty staggering when you look at it, though. Definitely Andrews I'd put ahead of Hawkinson, but I feel good getting Hawkinson 2 full rounds after Andrews, just generally speaking. And while we got that Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins stack here in the middle of the draft, this is a super flex league, which is why we're seeing QBs go so early. If you have the 101 pick in a normal league, do not go with Mahomes. Darren Waller finishing top 5 tight end anyways. Yeah, I do like Darren Waller a decent amount. Yeah, it was a down year for Mark Andrews too. And I do think that Andrews is going to have an elite season with the Ravens throwing more this year, and just they have more weapons too. It's going to be harder for defenses to key in on Andrews, like much better receiving core than the Ravens had last year with Zay Flowers, Odell, and Rashad Bateman. It's no super flex, so Jefferson, I assume. Yeah, Jefferson's the consensus one overall this year. This is a super flex PPR league. That's why you're seeing quarterbacks go off the board really, really aggressively here. That is what you're seeing. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Guys, it's been a long live, I think an hour and a half. I'm gearing up for the Sunday morning lives by doing some of these longer live streams. I was not planning on doing 3 mocks, but the chat talked me into it. I do appreciate everyone that's tuned in right now, though. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button on the YouTube live and the follow and like button on the TikTok live. In my 10-man, I got Jamar, Henry, Waddle, Burrow, and Mixon. Wow. Yeah, I don't love stacking Mixon with Burrow and Jamar, but I mean, it's definitely a pretty good start. Is Christian Kirk worth a flex spot this season for full PPR? Yeah, I think Christian Kirk can be a decent flex option for you in full PPR. I think he'll be a little less consistent than last year, but I think he'll provide the same spike weeks that we were getting out of Christian Kirk last season. So yeah, I still like Kirk in PPR leagues, especially. I think that's doable for sure. And the QBs are definitely starting to thin out a decent amount here in this super flex league. This is a 2 QB league. Yeah, this is a 2 QB league. Thoughts on Kupp? I'm not panicking about Cooper Kupp. I know he's injured right now, but reports are it's closer to a day-to-day injury than like a week-to-week injury. So definitely not overly concerning. All right, we got a J.K. Dobbins report here. Ravens head coach John Harbaugh says he expects running back J.K. Dobbins back soon. Dobbins' situation has been one of the more perplexing matters the offseason thus far. The ball's in J.K.'s court, Harbaugh told reporters Tuesday. The veteran running back voiced displeasure with his contract situation before being placed on the PUP list and being excused from camp. Harbaugh has always been one to keep player proceedings close to the chest. So it sounds like Dobbins may be returning soon. That's not really anything newsworthy. That's kind of what we've been told this whole offseason. Okay, about to be back on the clock here. Hunt did not sign with the Saints. Yeah, that's interesting. That was not an official signing. It sounded like it was a done deal when I was reading about it. We already have a tight end. I don't hate going Terry. I'm going to go Terry here. I feel like there's a little bit of a teardrop here at receiver. I'm kind of liking how my starting lineup's shaking out. I think I just need one quarterback and one flex, and then my starting lineup will be set in this league. This is a mock draft, by the way. Fair fantasy return for Kadarius Toney. I mean, Kadarius Toney is it's so hard to see a world where Kadarius Toney is on the field consistently for the Chiefs. And it's like, where is the consistency going to come in fantasy if he can't be on the field for more than half the snaps? Like, reportedly, he's going to be ready for week 1. I don't love that he's missing off training camp to begin with. I'm pretty nervous for Kadarius Toney. I think Sky Moore ranks ahead of Kadarius Toney right now in fantasy. So something less than Sky Moore, I think, is a fair return for Kadarius Toney. And we're gonna reach here for Brock. I feel pretty good about being ahead of the market on Brock. And this is a super flex league. I locked in my second QB in Brock Purdy. And again, just look where his weapons are getting drafted. Ayuk already got drafted. Deebo Samuel already got drafted. George Kittle already got drafted. And Christian McCaffrey already got drafted. Like, if we are taking all of these guys so early, why is Purdy going so late? I'm glad I got to be the guy that got Purdy in the 7th round of a Superflex draft. Pretty good reason, not to like reach in the second or third rounds for QBs if you can just get Purdy. Tua Light, as I like to call him. Hunt didn't sign to the Saints. Yeah, it's really interesting that wasn't an official signing. I want to pull up my Twitter here and see if there's any reports I can share about that. Man, like, what a big jump here from Pitts to Ingram. I can't get myself to reach for Evan Ingram after this elite tier of tight ends is dried up. Okay. Let's refresh the feed here. Had what was called a great visit with the Saints and now is on his way to Indianapolis to meet with the Colts on Wednesday, per source. Wow, so Kareem Hunt not officially signing with the Saints as was originally reported. Sounds like he's heading to the Indianapolis Colts now, trying to create a little bit of a bidding war. I'm sure he's not going to get paid all that much. Very interesting development. We'll see where Kareem Hunt lands. We still need to see where Leonard Fournette and Ezekiel Elliott sign and Dalvin Cook. All four of those guys are going to get signed to teams this season. None of those guys' careers are over. They're all free agents right now. This is a super flex league, not a dynasty league. This is a super flex league, which means you start two quarterbacks, which is why you're seeing this insane run on quarterbacks to start the draft. That is what's going on in this draft. Yeah, it's a super flex league. It's a super flex league. And yeah, this person at the back, they haven't taken a single quarterback yet. I hope they got the memo that this was a super flex league, but they're going to struggle for sure in this league. If you wait this long on quarterbacks, you're going to be pretty toast, I think. Is there kickers in the super flex league? It depends what type of league you're in. I don't think there's kickers in this mock draft, but most leagues usually have kickers. I mean, most leagues still have kickers. I'm pretty anti-kickers and defenses in fantasy. It's just a lot. It's just a lot to keep up with on a week-to-week basis. But most leagues have kickers and defenses. That's just the fact of the matter. Most leagues have kickers and defenses, even super flex leagues. But it's up to the league. You can change your settings to the best. Elia and Drew Anthony, what a team! Yeah, I really like this team here. I like Judy more than DJ Moore. He took DJ Moore before Judy. Not a huge deal, but yeah, McCaffrey and Eckler, and then Tua and A-Rich, both these guys have pretty high ceilings and pretty good floors as long as they stay healthy. DJ Moore, Judy, Watson, I like this start a lot. We'll see what he can piece together at tight end. And he goes Muth here, which is definitely fine. I don't, not great. There are going to be some close to donut, if not donut weeks from Muth for sure. But with the other guys you have here, I think you'll be able to make up for that. I like this team a lot too. This team will be probably pretty strong once Kyler comes back. I don't really love stacking QBs with their running backs, though, even though James Conner, he projects for like a really big workhorse role. You're the best. Thanks, man. I appreciate all of you that are tuned in right now. Hit the like and follow button. Really do appreciate that. We're going to be wrapping up this live momentarily in the next probably 10 to 20 minutes. Lawrence pick number 8. Yeah, T-Law in the first. This is a super flex league, guys. You start two quarterbacks in this league. So much, much, much different dynamic. In a super flex league, people draft 3 QBs. So there's going to be some teams left without 2 QBs to be able to start. So yeah, it's definitely different than best sleeper running back. I really like Tank Bigsby late in drafts right now. That's a really deep sleeper. You're getting him like in the 10th, 11th, 12th round of drafts right now. Sounds like he is going to carve out a receiving role in the Jaguars offense and has a chance to get the goal line role too. All right, I'm on the clock here. And I believe we need just a flex player. Let's see what we're working with. I don't really love this, but I'm going to go Mike Evans for the flex, 8th round. He's had like a million straight 1,000-yard seasons. I'm pretty sure I posted a video about not drafting Mike Evans, but his price has just dropped and dropped and dropped. And I'm definitely very nervous about the Buccaneers offense overall. Mike Evans had the 7th most air yards in the NFL last year, the 3rd most deep targets. I think he's got a pretty good shot to finish top 15 in air yards again. He did deal with some injuries, though, last year, and he scored like almost half of his points in one game. I can pull up the Mike Evans game logs. Mike Evans game logs from last year are good to look back on because it is just insane, the game logs from Mike Evans. And you didn't make the finals if you had Mike Evans, but look what Mike Evans did in the fantasy football finals last year. 49 points. He didn't have a single game over 14 points since week 8, and then he drops a 50 bomb. In week 17, he has 10 catches for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns in the fantasy football finals. I mean, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get consistency from Mike Evans this year, but we probably will be due for at least a couple big games from him. Gabe Davis gets sniped here. I kind of like him more than Mike Evans, honestly. Okay, running back situation. I don't really like Pacheco. it definitely gets bleak here. I'm going to go Michael Thomas. We'll go Michael Thomas or Mike Evans in my flex spot. PPR league, I do like Mike Thomas. I only have 2 running backs, and one of them's Brees. Probably should have gone running back there. Any thoughts on George Pickens as a late round breakout candidate? Yeah, Austin, I'm not the guy to go to talk you into George Pickens as a late round breakout. I'm the one thing Pickens has. The one thing that Pickens has in his favor is he's a year 2 receiver, and that is a pretty big deal. Year 2 receivers generally are the receivers most likely to break out in fantasy football and from an NFL perspective too. Pickens is a talented receiver that was picked pretty high in the NFL draft, and he's going into year 2. So like that bodes well for George Pickens. But basically everything else, like I'm pretty out on George Pickens with. Like none of the advanced efficiency metrics really pop off the page for Pickens last year. 1.5 yards per route run, that ranked outside the top 50. Like you see these elite jump ball catches from him. Like he makes spectacular catches, but you don't get extra points for those in fantasy. He had a 15% target share last year. Like, can he really get much above a 20% target share in this offense where we know Deontay Johnson is going to dominate the targets? We know that Freiermuth will continue to be involved, and we know this is going to be a run-first team to begin with. Like, I don't see a path to a ton of volume for George Pickens with Deontay Johnson on the team. I would be pretty surprised if he out-targeted Deontay Johnson. So that's kind of my whole case for being nervous about George Pickens. Deontay Johnson's still only 26 years old. He had the 6th most targets in the NFL last year. He's ranked top 12 in targets for, I think, 3 straight seasons now, and he's one of the better route runners in the NFL. So, yeah, he was number 2 in targets in 2021. He was number 6 in targets in last year. And then 3 years ago, Deontay Johnson was, I'm just pulling it up here. I think he was he was number 6 again. So Deontay Johnson's been top 6 in targets for 3 straight years. So like that kind of has to change if George Pickens is going to have this massive breakout season. Where do you go to join mock drafts? Go to our Discord. Link to that is in the YouTube description. Link to the YouTube is right in the TikTok bio. So go to the TikTok bio, click on YouTube, go to the description in YouTube, join the Discord, or just turn on YouTube notifications, and I'll send the link to mock drafts in the YouTube chat as well, always. Cook fell that far. Yeah, Dalvin Cook's fallen really, really far. I'm not touching him. I just don't know what team he could land on where he gets realistically 15-plus touches a week. Like, I just think he's going to be the RB2 for a team, and he's going to need an injury to return value for fantasy. All right, we're going to be back on the clock here soon. Let's look at the running back still available, and A.J. Brown gets sniped, absolutely sniped. So I'll go Brian Robinson. Really not a sexy pick in Brian Robinson, but he is likely going to be the first and second down back for the Commanders. Eckler or Kelsey drafting from the 5. Yeah, I lean Eckler over Kelsey. It's definitely close, but I lean Eckler over Kelsey. Diggs plus Allen stack or Hurts plus Brown stack. Yeah, this one's super, super close because I have Hurts ranked ahead of Allen, but I have Diggs ranked ahead of Brown. So it's like really, really close. I think that you can't go wrong with either of these stacks. I think I probably lean towards the Hurts Brown stack, but yeah, it's super close. I don't feel strongly about one of these stacks over the other, but you're going to have to spend, a first or second round pick to get Diggs or Brown, and you're going to probably have to spend a second or third round pick to get Allen or Hurts. So definitely not going to be an easy stack to get. I posted a video about my favorite upside stacks yesterday, actually on our TikTok, at WalterPicks on TikTok, if you're watching live on YouTube right now. And I try to make those stacks that you can make without using a first or second round pick. I think there's a lot of upside and just less risk in stacking that way. I think it was Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley. I think Justin Herbert, Mike Williams was one of those, which I actually think I got that stack in the last draft maybe. And then I think the third one, what was the third one? Oh, no, it wasn't Tua. I'm blanking on what that third stack was. Oh, it was Lamar and Zay Flowers. Lamar and Zay Flowers was that third stack. All right, I'm back on the clock. I don't hate Charbonnet this late, especially because I need some running backs. I don't hate A-Chain this late either. I like both these guys in PPR. I'm going to go Charbonnet. Charbonnet was my number 2 running back in this class behind Bijan. And he finds himself on a really good offense with a team whose starting running back is currently hurt. So I don't hate him late with upside. He's not going to start, on this team by any means. What program do you use to check Mike Evans' stats? Yeah, so this is the WalterPicks app. This is actually the app I've personally been working on for the last 3 years. It's free to download. You can find it in the TikTok bio. There's some premium features that you can pay for, but you also get a 7-day free trial. But most of what you're seeing here is free. Like all these advanced game logs, 100% free in this app. The player comparison's free. Really, the premium feature you got to pay for is League Sync, which lets you sync your leagues and you get live insights throughout your draft based on the players that are being taken during your draft. Really an elite app all around. Appreciate any feedback you have about it. But that's the app that I was pulling up earlier. Quarterbacks going in the first round. I'm getting so many comments on TikTok about this. It's a Superflex league. This is a Superflex draft. 2 quarterbacks get started. That's why you're seeing 2 quarterbacks go in the first round. All right, let's start to analyze some of these teams and which teams I like the most. So Mahomes, Deshaun Watson team, I'm 2 elite quarterbacks, the first team to draft 2 QBs, which I generally like. I don't hate being the first team to draft 2 QBs in a Superflex league. You got Derrick Henry, Akers, Montgomery, Keenan Allen, Mari Cooper, JSN. This is a really good team. Really, really good team. I like the Elijah Moore and Njoku stack here with Deshaun as well. I feel like the stacks are easier to get in these Superflex leagues. All right, we got Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers here with this next one, Adams and Pollard. Debo. Yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous about the receivers after Devontae and Debo. Pollard and Pierce, pretty thin at running back here too after those 2 guys. I'd say the first team is probably a little bit better than the second team here, but definitely close. I like Pollard a lot more than Henry though, especially in a PPR format. This one's definitely close. This one's definitely close. It depends how Aaron Rodgers turns out. Josh Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, Najee Kenneth, Derek Carr, Darren Waller, J.K. Dobbins, Bryce Young, Quentin Johnston, Dalton Kincaid. Another team that's like a little bit thin at wide receiver after these 2 guys in a PPR format. Definitely that could come back to bite you. I don't hate where you got Quentin Johnston here though. You doing another draft after this? I'm not. Are you doing drafts with viewers? Yep, this is a mock drafts with viewers. Lamar Jackson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Andrew's got the Lamar Andrew stack. I like where you got Geno. I like this team a lot. I actually really like this team, this 4th slot team here from this Superflex draft. Again, you start 2 QBs. I like the value you got here with Geno. I like I like my Purdy value a little bit more. I'm related to Charbonnet, really. Do you think he's going to do well with the Seahawks? Let me pull this up here. Let's see what quarterbacks. Is Ritter still there? Wow, yeah, there's still some QBs here. For sure. I'm going to take Ritter as my 3rd QB in this Superflex league. Usually most Superflex teams do draft 3 quarterbacks. Okay. Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite team so far. I like the Lamar Andrews stack. I like where you got Gabe Davis and Mike. And I think you got some solid running backs here too with Cook, Sanders, and Mondre. I think this is pretty solid value from Mondre. This is probably really my favorite team so far. Here's my team. I went Fields in the first round. Then I followed up with Nick Chubb, Breece Hall to round out the running backs for my PPR league. Devontae Smith, Terry McLaurin, like those receivers. Mike Evans, Mike Thomas. Hopefully one of these vets can pull out a fully healthy season for my flex slot. Really like the value I got with Purdy. I actually reached here based on his average draft position, but like him a lot where he's going. And my last 3 picks probably will be completely worthless here. Let me see. I'm about to be back on the clock here, and we're going to make this difficult for someone who wanted a 3rd quarterback. I'm going to go with another QB in the Superflex format. Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Waddle, Daniel Jones. Don't hate the Daniel Jones Saquon stack, but I don't really love stacking those 2 guys either. I love where you got Deontay Johnson, 8th round Deontay Johnson, 1 pick before Mike Evans. We were just looking at it. I mean, he's been top 6 in targets in the NFL for 3 straight years. Going in the 8th round is just an absolute insane value, especially in a PPR format. These receivers are really elite. I like the running backs. I like this team a lot too. I like where you got Pitts right at the end of that tight end tier. I mean, man, look, Evan Ingram went 2 picks after Pitts. That's insane. This is probably my 2nd favorite team. This is definitely right up there with the Lamar team. I think I like both those teams probably more than my own team. All right, let's look at these other teams here. Probably waited a little bit too long for quarterbacks. I think in this one, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, 2 elite receivers. I like the running backs. You got Kirk and Stafford, and then Trey Lance. I don't think is going to be playing any games this year. Ayuk, I like where you got him. I'm a little bit out on Javonte. I'm worried about your QB situation. I like that you got Dolch late though. All right, Trevor Lawrence, Diggs, Olave, ETN, Swift. Yeah, this team is not going to be up there in my favorites. I don't think I would take Lawrence. I'm not taking Lawrence over Herbert. I like the receivers with Diggs and Olave, but yeah, ETN and Swift, I'm a little bit nervous about. I don't think Swift's going to have a consistent week-to-week role. Again, this is a super flex league. That's why you're seeing QBs go early in this draft. Cooper Kupp, Kelsey, Dak, Kyler. This team's toast. They don't have a second QB to start the season. McCaffrey, Eckler, Tua, A-Rich. Yeah, this team's really, really good. This is definitely up there with those other 2 teams I really liked. Getting McCaffrey and Eckler on the same team in a PPR league just feels like you're cheating, even though this is a super flex format. I like where this 11th pick got Herbert as well, and I like where they got Ridley. This team's really good too. I like the Goff pick. I put this in that elite tier as well. And yeah, this last team, I think just waited too long on quarterbacks, and I don't want JT or Jacobs on my teams right now. So yeah, I think my favorite team was from the 11 slot, the 10 slot, and then the 4 and 6 slot. I think those are my favorite teams in this Superflex PPR draft. Guys, yeah, pick or no proof. Thank you so much for tuning into this one. This was a long live stream. I'll be back live again tomorrow doing another mock draft. Join the Discord. Link to that's in the YouTube description if you want to join these mock drafts in the future, or just hop into YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel and put notifications on. All you are welcome in my league, LOL. Yeah, this is a Superflex league. We're not taking Trevor Lawrence in the first round of a non-Superflex league. You start 2 quarterbacks in these leagues. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Have a great one, everyone. Good luck, everybody.